What's up, everyone? Starting to feel better. For those who are wondering, my voice is definitely a little bit clearer. It sounds clear to me. Apparently, I have low connection. Someone then just advertised the stream. A good buddy of mine, Iron Inquisitor, he uploaded a video about George Lucas's inconsistent opinions on the EU. So go ahead and give that a watch if you haven't, because it's a good video. I actually haven't seen the video, but I know a lot of stuff he talks about in it because it's the same stuff I've been saying. Alex is here. What's up, Alex? How are you? Marcel, if I can move my mouse? What's up? But yeah, Iron Inquisitor. He's a good friend. I love him. Love y'all too. Y'all look great. I was watching it, but you started streaming. Good to know who you prefer. Just kidding. So I stopped watching Inquisitor for you. I'm honored. It's weird. I've kind of gotten a newer place in the movement within the last 48 hours. That's pretty interesting. What's up, Ethan? It's like I went from just some dude on Instagram to now a lot of people know who I am, which is really cool. And I give Matt credit, but I give a lot of credit to Christopher Nelson. He's the one who told Matt about me, so give him the credit. I'm subbed to Iron. Yeah, Iron is great. I did a stream with him a while back. It was a good stream. Done a lot with Alex, and if y'all want to join, just let me know. You know, y'all can definitely join. I am also going to be doing a video soon about the Phantom Menace. Well, I'm probably going to stream it. It's easier that way. Like kind of how I do some videos on Instagram. If I'm reviewing something on Instagram, I'll stream and then upload it to Instagram afterwards. Probably gonna do the same thing here because it's just easier. But what that stream also told me is there needs to be a separation between the Menace and the EU, because a lot of that stream was just hating Disney Star Wars, and the EU movement shouldn't be about that. We shouldn't be. When I mean hating Disney Star Wars, is actually just hating the new canon. Just as now, we don't have to like it. We can criticize it, but if that's the whole, anyway, I'll leave it for the stream. But yeah, I am planning on doing that. Why the EU movement needs to separate from the Menace entirely. Just gotta do some chores with mask and gloves because my mom's got COVID. I need money from work. Well, I'm sorry about your mom. Be praying for her. But if you're still streaming after I'd of course be honored to join the famous lands. Gosh, y'all flatter me too much. I don't feel that great. I feel like some idiot kid on the internet. That a lot of older people like. I'm just kidding. Y'all not old. Alex is young. Marcel, I don't know. You're an adult. You're a lawyer. By the way, that compliment was very, very heartwarming, what you sent me in my DMs. That was very, very kind of you. I can't say I feel like that because, again, I just made that video just on the whim, you know. I had a couple things I want to talk about. You know, I didn't have a script. I just talked, you know. But I do really much appreciate that. And I've actually thought about being a lawyer, but instead of being, well, not really a lawyer, more of a politician. I did kind of think of that, but I'm like, politics, I can't even handle it not being a politician, let alone actually being a part of it. So I don't know. What's up, Strax? Really coming around to this notion of just focusing all my efforts on. Yeah, exactly. Now I'll be honest. I do poke fun at Filoni and stuff, but like I don't make my Instagram or my YouTube or whatever just Filoni hatred exclusively. Mostly EU while poking fun at. I think it's okay to poke fun, but I think if all we do with our time is hating on the stuff we don't like, I mean, what's the point in that? And I think that's one of the big problems with the Menace. What is their goal? What is the objective with the Menace? Because clearly no one's listening to them. Most of the media, definitely Disney, they've written them off. They don't care what they say. So, I mean, again, they're not listening. So I don't know what their goal is. The EU movement, we have a clear goal, right? Lance is a top-notch orator. It doesn't feel like that, but I do appreciate that very much. Which is weird. I won't say I have high anxiety, but I do have anxiety. So, I would. It's the only reason I'd become a lawyer. Some of the EU sucks, but of course, not every EU story is great, And there's of course a lot of like this book. The first book comes to mind. I hate this book. Me and Matt, we're very much agreed on this book. But the EU's not perfect. Most of it's really good though. Make you become a real life daredevil minus being blind. I gotta watch that show. I still haven't watched it yet. Oh well. Catholic lawyer by day. That is true. I am Catholic, like Daredevil is. If you can't tell, I have a crucifix right. Whoops, right. Oh, this is weird. Right there. So, if that's interesting to any of you, it's kind of like another hobby of mine is studying theology. It's not really a hobby, but something I enjoy. Epic EU crime fighter by night, of course. What's your dream job? I want to be a filmmaker or a writer, something like that. I want to be a writer in the film industry. I'd love to write movies or direct movies. Directing movies would be cool. Yes. I wouldn't even do that by night. I just do that anyway, regardless. I'm just kidding. I don't hate Filoni fans. There's a lot of really reasonable ones. I feel like I don't talk about them enough. In fact, a good friend of mine, Sheev Talks here on YouTube. He likes Filoni. He's critical of him at times. In fact, he made a whole video criticizing him. It was like an almost 30-minute video. It was a great video. Oh my nose. But beyond that, he still likes Filoni. That's I don't care if people like him. I just hate the toxic ones that just love everything he does no matter what. If you become a filmmaker, I'd never. You'd get paid because I want you to get paid. We already have enough of the film industry not paying their staff or not paying their staff enough for the work that they do. Looking at you, Marvel. Especially because I haven't gone to school for it. I guess that's fair. If you haven't gone to school for it, you probably wouldn't be that good. But I'd probably put you in as an extra, maybe. I don't know. I'd love to write a Star Wars novel. One day. I'd love to write one. That's another kind of a dream of mine, I guess. Now, would it be new canon EU? It would probably have to be new canon. Hope not, of course. But if it is new canon, it's going to be one of the best ones. I made my teacher cry once during a monologue, so that's something. Cry in what way? Plus all the Magneto lore. Where does the Magneto come from? Magneto. Oh, where does that come from? If you see my 1,000 video stream, lol, I was enjoying drama with. Oh, okay. I did a couple years of theater. 1 year of middle school theater, 1 year of freshman high school theater, which again not much, but wasn't that good at it. She was moved by my performance, or so she says. Wonder in what way. I thought you had chores to do, Alex. What are you doing here? Get out of here. Just kidding. I'll block you right now. Okay, first of all, is it Magnino or Magneno? It's a company my friend won. Oh, okay. His channel is GC. If it's new canon, it wouldn't be so bad writing for new era, more actual creative freedom. I probably wouldn't have. See, what's weird is back in the old days, the EU or the authors, a lot of the books they wrote were just pitch ideas they gave to Lucasfilm. It wasn't like They were assigned a book. They went to Lucasfilm and proposed it. Like Tales of the Jedi is a great example, or Lucino's Plagueis. Those were books that were pitched to Lucasfilm. Ironically, Tales of the Jedi was approved by Lucas himself. I'm distracted. I'm sorry. I should do it. So is Magneto? I think that's the second one I said. Yes, you should go do your chores. Get out of here. As you can see, I have a lot more energy and enthusiasm than I did yesterday. I feel a lot better. So I had to work today. So yeah. Who else is in chat? It says there's 4 people in stream. I know Marcel is probably one of them. Alex is probably the second. Who's the other 2? Say something. Before writing Tales of the Jedi, Veach wrote Lucas a bunch of questions and he answered them. I wish I could see those questions. I didn't know that. I thought he just... I do know that back in the late 80s, he pitched the idea of Tales of the Jedi to Lucasfilm. However, Lucasfilm said, yeah, George would never approve that. Well, lo and behold, when Dark Horse took over, Veach proposed the idea to Lucas directly, and Lucas loved it. So that's how we still have that. That's why we have that series. I wonder why he loved it. Probably because it was good. Very good. Those are my favorite comics, Star Wars comics I've read. Definitely. I have a lot of favorites. I'd say practically all the comics I've read are actually pretty good. Except Invasion. Invasion was bad. The New Jedi Order series that they did. Which you'd be like, why do you hate a New Jedi Order story? To me, it's not a New Jedi Order story. It's just a shoehorn, whatever. It's a shoe-in Vong story. That's what it is. Apparently wrote him about asking... Okay, he apparently wrote him asking about the history of the... Okay, it's interesting. It's interesting, the whole, Palpatine coming back. I know this isn't Dark Empire, but not Tales of the Jedi, but it's Tom Veach either way. Veach said on record that the whole idea of Palpatine coming back was Lucas's idea. Now, Lucas has said, well, if I did it, he wouldn't have come back, but whatever. According to Veach, he got that idea from Lucas. So to those of you who think that that's not a Lucas thing, well, according to Veach, you're wrong. As always, you haters are always wrong. And not always, but most of the time they are wrong. I don't think I've ever been proven wrong by any hater. You can't prove wrong blatant quotes from Lucasfilm that says, yeah, they use canon. That's almost verbatim what they said. Maybe not verbatim, but the word choice. Canon, they use that a lot. They didn't use non-canon or, stuff like that. They said canon, just canon. That's often, and it's interesting because Super Sony never referred to the hierarchy. Even after the hierarchy was made, she didn't talk about it. Because the hierarchy was only there to really just to serve which stories have authority over others based on the medium the stories are told in. So really had nothing to do with which was more canon. They were all canon. They were all equally canon. It was just some had more authority over others in terms of canonicity. So a lot of people, because when I explain the hierarchy to people, they'll be like, well, see, there's that canon and there's this canon. It's like they're not separate canons. They're separate hierarchies that are named C canon or S canon or whatever. But people forget what the hierarchy is, the point of it is. There's also a video I've been wanting to make. It's George Lucas's analogy to the Trinity. He described his relationship with the EU as something very similar to the Trinity. And I think that's actually a great analogy because it works so well. Because if you know the Trinity, you know that the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are all equally God, but you also know that the Father has a certain there's a certain precedent, not precedence, but there's something about the father that makes he's not superior. He's superior to the son, but he's also equal to the son. If that makes sense, it's hard to understand, but there's a certain priority for the father than there is the other two. Um, and I think that's interesting with the EU because it kind of works the same way. Yeah, they're all equally canon, they're all God, but the films had a little bit more priority, kind of like how the father does. So I think that's a very interesting analogy because it really works so well. Man, I love the hierarchy in such a good way. Yeah, I love it too. I love it as well. There's actually, it's interesting. I think Star Wars Archivist on Instagram made a post about this. He talked about the first contradiction in the EU. I don't see it as a contradiction because of the hierarchy, but it's basically on who can swim between Luke and Leia. Splinter of the Mind's Eye said one thing, Marvel Comics said another. Well, technically, Splinter of the Mind's Eye is C canon, Marvel Comics are S canon, so the Splinter of the Mind's Eye version takes precedence. And that's why the Marvel Comics were always S canon, because not everything fit. One being three, yep, three different roles, yeah. I think the Trinity is a perfect analogy. At least for those who understand it. Well, I can't claim to understand the Trinity, but like I know the concept, but I can't say I understand the concept because it's such a hard thing to understand, the Trinity. So Father would be the first among you. Yeah. He's equal to everyone else, but he's still first. There's still a priority that the Father has that the other two don't. And that works perfectly with the EU. Yeah, the EU is equally canon to the films, but the films have a little bit more priority. So I think that's a great analogy Lucas uses. And people often bring that quote up in debates, and it's like that quote literally proves the EU is canon. At least, if you look at it a certain way, if you understand the Trinity. So whatever. What do I know? Just some idiot kid on the internet. That's what I feel like raging about Star Wars. But it's good to know that some people think highly of me. So what should my next video be about? I asked that because I just don't know. I mean, you may say, well, review stuff. It's just review stuff I find boring. I don't know. I rather do things that people haven't done. Like everyone's done reviews of the EU. At least not. I guess not everyone, but a lot of people do. Alex does them. Matt Wilkins does them. Noah does them. Um, a bunch of people do them. But I'd rather do things like for example, my Junior Jedi Knights video that I put. I'd rather do things like that are a little interesting, little, unknown things. I should do my EU origin story. That's not a bad idea. I think I've told that on. I think I've talked about that on Instagram before. I'm not sure, but that's a good idea. It's not a very long story at all. It's very simple. Religious, not toxic, and an Eve. Also a really nice guy. Hello, base department. Appreciate you, Max. Why did I say Max? Alex, not Max. That's someone else. You can make a video defending a book everyone else hates. That's not bad. Not a bad idea. The first book that comes to mind is Revan, but I feel like that's way too controversial. I feel like I don't know, what book do I like that everybody else hates? I'm trying to think here. I mean, Revan is probably the one I can think of the most. Survivor's Quest is another one. I don't think people hate that book. People just don't know about it. New Rebellion, that's a good one. The thing is, I haven't read a lot of these books in forever, so I don't remember everything in them. The New Jedi Order would be good too, because a lot of people hate that series. I don't know why. but they do. I don't know. It's good. It's a good idea. Crystal Star. I can't say I love that book though. I don't hate it, but I don't really love it. I do. I have an article written. I wrote it a while back. I meant to send it to the expandinguniverse.com or email it. I never did. But I need to go back and find it and maybe edit it a little bit. But the article was basically about, the Crystal Star's impact on the EU. Because a lot of people don't understand that it actually has a big impact. Maybe not a huge impact, but it has an impact on other stories. There is connections with it to other sources of media. The first things that come to mind is Young Jedi Knights and Jedi Outcast. Those are probably the biggest ones. And the Jedi Outcast connection is kind of new. Abel G. Pena, on a hyperspace article, he connected the faction that we see in Jedi Outcast, the Imperial Remnant faction, to the faction the Crystal Star. And he basically said that, yeah, that's the same faction. So Dasan was actually working for Lord Hether. So Lord Hether was kind of his master. You could see, you could kind of see it that way. Which I actually really like that connection. He didn't have to do it. Darksaber's a good one. I love that book either way. Brought up one time this thing. It's hugely significant. I don't think people understand how significant, and it's not really significant. I guess it is. Like, really, the Galactic Civil War. It's one of the pivotal moments in the war. And it's something the Empire does in that book, but when the Empire did that, when Dala did that, to be more specific, Dala and Pelion, mainly Dala, but Pelion was there too. It basically ruined any sort of chance the Empire had at winning. So yeah, but it was huge. The plus that book, the most powerful Force push ever performed is in that book. Even more powerful than anything Luke had done. Plus, I love Anderson, so I love his Jedi Academy trilogy, so I thought it was a perfect sequel to that. Not perfect, I guess. Perfect's a weird term, but there's a lot of good stuff in that book. Durga the Hutt, I don't get why people hate Durga the Hutt. I thought he was cool. He was a neat villain because he's a Hutt and he's working with the Empire. I thought that was really cool. So I don't get what people hate about that book. I guess a character that I like that a lot of other people don't is Beldoran the Hutt, the Jedi Hutt, Dark Jedi Hutt technically. I like that Hutt as well. I don't see what the point of it is. Or, you're like, well, what's the point of why is there a Jedi Hutt? It's like, who said that Jedi or that Hutts couldn't be Jedi? No one said that. Yeah, it's kind of impractical, but the Force is the Force. You get this tiny little green guy who can, flip and do all these different things in the movies. Why can't a Hutt become a Jedi? So I don't know. I feel like a lot of that kind of criticism is just dumb. So I don't know. And then you look at the freaking new canon. There's ripped Hutts. So why not the EU have the same thing? Actually, I do think Beldoran was pretty muscular, if I'm remembering that right. I don't know. It's been a while. But yeah, there's a lot of criticism that you get that's unwarranted that I don't agree with. Now, I feel like a lot of the things people don't like about the Crystal Star, I feel like a lot of that's like when people say, well, they redid the whole kidnapping thing. That book came out in 1994. That was probably the first time the kids had ever been kidnapped. So, same with Dark Jedi. That was probably the third or fourth Dark Jedi. Lamia from the Marvel Comics, Lord Shadowspawn, is that his name for the Marvel Comics? And then George Sabaoth, or Sabaoth, however, I always read Sabaoth. And then Hether. So I guess you could say, yeah, I was overused by that point. But the kidnapping thing, no. That was the first time the twins had ever been kidnapped. Well, I guess the twins and Anakin. It was all three had been born by that point. So, and that's actually something Chris brought up in my stream with him a while back. He brought up that, yeah, a lot of these things that Crystal Star gets criticized for, he was not the first. They were the first people to do that stuff in terms of having the kids kidnapped or stuff like that. The Crystal has a bunch of interesting ideas, even with the character. Yeah, I think Joe Bongiorno's Supernatural Encounters talks about this, but I believe Waru. I think Joe was planning something with Waru to have like an interesting backstory. I feel like you could have a really interesting backstory for Waru, and you could make that character good. I think there's a lot of potential there. Yeah, it's a giant meat cube, but how is that not normal for Star Wars? You know, I've always said that Return of the Jedi has a bunch of teddy bears that are literally the reason why the rebels won. So it's like, is a giant meat cube why would that be outside of what Return of the Jedi did? So, and people will criticize Waru, but they'll be like, "Oh, Geode is the greatest Star Wars character." It's like, what? I swear, bro. Don't understand. Like, I can point out a numerous stupid things in the new canon. Now, stupid meaning weird. They're not stupid. It's fine for Star Wars. Like, I don't mind Geode. I don't mind a lot of these different things. They fit in Star Wars because that's just what Star Wars is. It's weird, but a lot of these people, it just makes no sense. Like, for example, the Eye of Webbish Bog from Episode 9. You remember that? That demon baby with a big squid on top of its head? If the EU did something like that, oh my gosh, we would never hear the end of it. Never hear the end of it. Oh, Legends had a demon baby with a squid on its head. Yeah, it should be decanonized. I could just imagine it. That's my rant. It's cold in my room, so I wear a blanket. So now I don't want to make this clear. I don't hate the Eye of Webbish Bog. I don't hate Geode. In fact, I like a lot of this. I think it's interesting concepts, but they're definitely strange. They're definitely weird. It's definitely different, But is it out of the realm of Star Wars? No. And makes a good point. He talks about this before, or he's talked about it before. He said that there's nothing too weird for Star Wars. There's nothing too different for Star Wars. There's nothing too outlandish for Star Wars. And he's completely right. Yeah, what we hate is the double. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The double standards is what I'm criticizing here. New canon can do this, but the EU can't. That's the stuff I'm criticizing. I don't care if the new canon has that kind of stuff because the EU has it too. It's fine in both universes. It's just a double standard that people hold. And that's something I've found a lot with the EU, or at least with the EU haters, is people have double standards. I mean, and it's funny because as the years go by, a lot of the things people hated about the EU are ironically being put in, like, for example, Jackson from the Marvel Comics. People hated him. Oh, this is Green Rabbit in the EU. Why would you like that? It's like that same Green Rabbit has more stories in the new canon than he ever did in the EU. And it's funny because he even got included in a novel, The Empire Strikes Back, 40th anniversary book with all those short stories. Jackson had a short story about him. EU never did that. He was in a couple comics and that was it. And then, Jackson practically has his own series now in Star Wars Adventures. So it's like, it's hilarious to me. You should invite Marcel. He's more than welcome to come on. It's great to talk to. He's very good to talk to. Now, I don't really have much of a flow. I'm just talking. Though I do get when I do get other people on, I do seem to quiet down. I only do that. I feel if I have a guest on my stream, or if I am a guest, I would like. I don't know. That doesn't really make sense, but if I have a guest on stream, they should talk as much as they want. They're a guest, It's like inviting them over to your house. Not really, but. Oh yeah, I got action figures all over my bookshelf if y'all can't tell. Now these are like newer I don't remember the name of them. Kenners. So these are newer ones, but I think they are. I don't remember. I took them out of the box anyway. There's good old Leia, our princess. And then here's our heroic farm boy, Luke Skywalker. But I have Han, but he's a keychain. So I actually do have a Luke Skywalker keychain, but it's downstairs. It's actually on my keys. Well, it's not my keys. They are my keys, but they're also not my keys. Because I don't have a car yet. I don't have my license, but I do have a keychain for me. I have a bunch of those. I don't remember the name of these things. But I have a bunch of these. I don't remember the name of them. I have this one. I have Anakin. I have R2. Han. I know I had Luke's. Oh, I'm holding Luke. I think that's it. I don't have anyone else. Unfortunately. Anyway, questions. Do the same. 3 people is kind of the gold number for random streams. I don't really collect the action figures anymore, but I want to get the Modal Nodes Black Series. The Bith band. Oh, okay. Is that the name of the band? I probably should know that, but whatever. Yeah, Alex, I agree. Are you talking about just in streams in general? Like just people being in the stream, or like people actually on the stream? Which that probably doesn't. Like people, okay. People that are in stream chat, or people that are like in the stream itself, like in the video. They're called Figurant Dawn in the Modal Nodes. It's very interesting. 2 guests. Oh, okay. Jeez. I had Marcel and Ghostfish, and there was a lot more discussion. Interesting. I don't know who Ghostfish is. I've never heard of that person. I also have these are kind of cool. I have I don't remember what model, but it's a Mon Calamari Star Cruiser. I don't remember the actual model. Like if it's an MC80 or MC whatever. Just a Mon Calamari Star Cruiser to me. And then I have of course a Star Destroyer. So I guess on my shelf I have them in war and battle against one another. It's pretty typical of them, right? Oh, Matt would really like this. I mean, this is the keychain, but it has this kind of stool with it. But I don't know. It's the 40th. So this is a Disney product. I think Matt would really like that. I think my sister found this at like a thrift shop or something. She found them for me and got them for me. So it was really nice of her. But there's this pedestal that it has this stand. And it's not, you can't take it off. Which sucks because it's like, well then imagine having this as a keychain and you have that at the bottom. Whoops. I mean, that would be really inconvenient. At least I would find it to be. But it's cool to have on the shelf. Ghost comments a lot of my videos. I had a public link. Public link? That's cool. So, like, anyone could join? How do you do that? Do you just hit share, not share screen, invite, copy to clipboard, and then post it in the chat? Let's do that. If the link comes up, I hope so. Otherwise, that's pointless. Y'all can join. I mean, there's really no I can join. I don't care. I'm only going to be streaming for an hour and 15 more, though, maybe. Or at least that's the limit. I want to go for about an hour more. uh, being sick sucks. So y'all are more than willing to join. Whoever wants to join. Well, if I don't know you, then I'm not gonna. Which there's only 3 people in chat, so. But if I don't know you, I'm not gonna bring you in stream. But I know you, Alex. I know you, Marcel. So I don't think it's that big a deal. You sound a lot better today. Yeah, I know. I feel a lot better. Taking a lot of meds, a lot of ibuprofen, lots of allergy medicine, and it's just typical allergies. But I mean, I can't have because we here in my district, my school district, we have final exams like every semester. So like we have midterm exams and then finals at the end of the year, and they allow us to exempt 2 of those. We get everyone gets 2 exemptions. And those, but if you miss a certain amount of days of school, like 2, I think it is. It should be more than that, but if you miss 2 days, now with that, if you have a doctor's note, that's cool. But like I missed school on Friday, so if I miss, I think if you miss more than 2, like if you miss 3 or more, I think that's when you can exempt. If you miss 2, I think it's fine. Just don't miss any more. So I've already missed 1 day, so. And then, of course, if you get like in school suspension or stuff like that, then of course you can exempt. But which obviously I don't get that because I'm a good kid. But like I felt so bad yesterday, I just couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. I wonder if there's a way you can pin comments. Is that possible? I don't want to put myself in timeout. Can you star it? I don't know what that does. I don't know. I still haven't figured out this StreamYard thing all the way through yet. I'm drinking a lot of ginger ale and Sprite. This is Dr. Pepper, but. And yeah, that's what I have for dinner tonight. Whataburger. So glad ibuprofen exists, as am I. But yes, I do feel a lot better. Because yesterday I had a headache and it was just, I couldn't really breathe that well, so, it kind of made breathing harder the more I talked. I can handle it now, but that's why I ended up cutting that stream short yesterday. I guess nobody's going to join? Dang. Alex, get on. Let's go. Stop doing chores. Just kidding. It's actually cool. I'm in a creative writing class right now, and one of my classmates in there, he's not a big UU fan, but he's read some stuff. He's read a couple of Rogue Squadron books. He's read some of the comics. He's played some of the games. So he's kind of like just starting out. By the end of the year, though, he's going to be an EU fan like me. I mean, he's asked me, have you read these books? Have you read those books? And I'm like, yes, I've read those. Yes, I've read those. So he asked me if I read the Thrawn books. I said, yeah, I've read most of them. I also told him I don't read any of the new stuff and I don't care about the new stuff. And he's like, yeah, I get that. So another young guy like me, who he's actually younger than me. He's a junior. I'm a senior. So it actually started. I started when I was a freshman in high school. That's when I started. That's when I started reading. Years and years ago, I took creative writing. My teacher only talked politics. Could have been a cool class. Really? That's that sucks. Sorry that you had to go through that. Politics sucks. I mean, I keep up with it. Like, I know what's going on. I just don't really like this. I only keep up with it because I have to. It's good to know what's going on in the world, but yeah, I converted my sister last year. It's almost like we're talking about this as if it's a religion, you know? It's not cool. It's not someone could say it's cool, but it's, I don't know. Getting a casino is not cool, but I don't know. It's always crazy when I find another EU fan. Someone once told me they were going to be Darth Revan. Halloween asked me if I read the book, and he said he loved it. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Lord Revan. Long live Revan. I love the fact that I actually like Revan because of his story. Because before I knew his story, I didn't care anything about Revan. It's like, oh, he has cool armor. So what? You know? It's like, I don't care. But once I played KOTOR and KOTOR 2 and read the Revan book and, stuff like that, I can definitely say I'm a Revan fan. I really like him. He's a really good character. What I minded the EU was religion. It practically is at this point. I'm going to give it a name. Well, the Holy Gospels would be, I guess we could call them these books right here. This is the Holy Gospel right here. To many people, this is the Holy Gospel. The Acts could be Jedi Academy trilogy, and everything else can be the letters from St. Paul. There you go. There's your Holy Scriptures. The prequel trilogy and the surrounding books, that's your Old Testament. From the original trilogy, which is, I don't know. I don't want to say deuterocanonical because it makes them sound bad. I don't want to say gospel because I just said the wrong trilogy. I don't know. There's somewhere in there. And then you have your Holy Gospels, and then you have everything else. There's your EU Bible. I still feel like Revan, I don't think he is. I think people who've experienced the story love him for what he is. I think it's pretty valid. Oh, look, Alex is in. Alex has clicked the link. He's in the stream. I just haven't added him to the video. Should I add him to stream? Should I? I'm thinking. Oh, he's on and he's back off. Oh, he's back on. I'm sorry, Alex. I accidentally clicked there.
Okay. I
was joking.
I really hate the EU, so
that was
that's why I decided to join.
intentional.
I really hate the EU, so I wanted to come on and tell you about why you're wrong for loving it.
Yeah, me too. I hate the EU.
Garbage fan fiction.
I think people just don't really know about the EU, but if they did, they'd probably like it. Probably.
That seems accurate.
Sometimes I use religious terminology like spreading the good word. Me too. Well, actually, not really, but the Thrawn trilogy is our Holy Gospel, according to just not, I guess. That's it.
Basically. The Filoni before Filoni.
Filoni wrote the Gospel of Thomas. Do you know what that is? It's a real thing. It's basically where in that book Jesus kills a kid. I don't know if he killed a kid, but he beat up a kid. I don't remember. So that's Filoni stuff right there.
Yeah, there you go. Seems
it's
like
funny when I get into debates with people. When I get into debates with people about the Bible or whatever, they'll bring up the Gospel of Thomas, and I'm like, dude, it's not even in the Bible. It's considered apocryphal. So
yeah.
It's like going up to a Muslim and talking about how bad the Bible is. It's like they don't read the Bible. They don't care. It's like, or going up to a Jew and telling them how bad the Quran is. It's like, why would they care? They don't read the Quran.
Yeah. Throw the Book of Mormon at you. And the next, maybe.
Oh, look, we have another friend.
Hey guys.
I think I'm going to switch this up. Will that be
There you
better?
go.
What's up, Marcel? How are you?
I'm not coming on camera. I was on camera earlier today when I was filming my YouTube video, and that's enough camera for me. It's like almost midnight here. So,
Fair enough.
but I thought I'd join the chat.
I'll make him not feel lonely. I'll do that.
Oh yeah, thanks.
You're going to make
There
me
you
feel
go.
lonely now.
Well, that's true. I'm alone. What do I do?
Yeah.
There's-
I tweeted John Jackson Miller earlier. I love how some of these people are so
Oh.
accessible.
Lance
Like,
can't do it because he doesn't have a.
Apparently not. I don't know what my
Huh?
picture is.
Yeah.
Do you have to like add one manually?
yeah, it gives me the option to add one when I join the stream. So I don't know how you would go about adding one if you're the host.
I have to
Edit
say,
audio
Revan,
Or,
Or
is it
Marcel.
edit audio?
Yeah.
for the first video of your
Yeah.
entire YouTube channel, that's probably the most unique thing I've ever seen talked about in the EU. I don't think anybody has ever bothered to discuss the pronunciation of word, besides maybe Mandalore, because he's all about that Karen Travis Mando talk.
Like that's the thing is that I kind of want to maybe I don't want to do a ton of YouTube content, but when I do stuff, I want it to be maybe something that no one's really ever talked about before. That's why I talked earlier to you about maybe looking at some of the or reviewing some of the stuff that is the fan fictions like Supernatural Encounters or Tales from the Galaxy, stuff like that.
Yeah. Noah's
because
Jedi
it's like-
Prince.
Noah's Jedi Prince. I'm on book 3 right now, Zorba the Hutt's Revenge. So I'm
Oh, are
slowly
you?
I'm slowly making
Yeah.
my way through all 6 books. They're easy reads, right? You could probably read them all in a day if you really wanted to, and then I'm gonna read Noah's book 7, 8, 9.
You know what? Maybe I should do that, make my review, and then do a live stream with you talking about the actual books and Noah's fan fiction.
I mean, I'll wait for you if that's the case. But I think you said you wanted to take a break after Mindor and read some of the fanfics, right? So
Well, I'm going to read just the one because the author says it takes place before the X-Wing books, and it's X-Wing comics. So,
right.
Yeah.
That makes
That's
sense.
to do with Baron Fell, so.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what I want.
It should be a picture of Matt, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm changing other things now, but I mean, I just put Cade because I like Cade.
I mean, Cade's great.
I don't
so.
understand people that dislike him. Like, dude, why do you?
Because I
want
think
to
he's
say
edgy.
Skywalker.
I think Cade Skywalker is the realest Skywalker. He's the most relatable Skywalker because
For real, bro.
Yeah.
he's so full of, vice and just failure, and yet he still rises above. I think that's one of the greatest stories in all of Star Wars.
Agreed. I also love that he's just the opposite of what you expect a Skywalker to be.
Mhm.
I love that Cade is the opposite of what you expect Skywalker to be.
I also love how his force visions are all fueled by drugs.
Yeah,
That's
every
probably
time
the
he-
best part about Cade.
Yeah. Every time he
I
gets
like that he
high,
does
I'll be
death
like,
sticks.
yeah,
I love that he
that's
does
exactly
death
death
sticks.
sticks.
He did not do what Obi-Wan recommended, which was to go home and rethink his life. In fact, he doesn't want to think about his life. His entire reason is doing death sticks.
So I'm actually not done Legacy yet. I stopped reading it because I got to Vector, and I'm like, okay, well, I haven't gotten to. I read Vector back in the day, but I wanted to read it basically from Knights of the Old Republic, then on to, I think it covers Dark Times, then Empire, and then it's like
Yeah.
this multimedia comic that
it's-
crosses 4 different titles. Yeah.
Yeah, it's KOTOR, Dark Times, Rebellion.
Oh, it's
And then
Rebellion, not
Legacy.
Empire. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then Legacy. Yeah, so I finished the first 4 issues of Vector and KOTOR.
Mhm.
The art was
Is garbage.
was not great. Celeste Morn, whoever drew her, did her dirty. I don't even want to mention that artist's name because
Right? She looks
That-
so
that-
weird.
that artist cannot draw faces.
No. Also, I just want to say my internet being kind of poopy, so if I'm interrupting anybody, I apologize.
Get better internet, scrub.
I know. I wish I had better internet.
Am I
Yeah,
coming through
Ethernet.
clear?
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm using my phone, so it's usually pretty good.
I'm using
I
my
used a phone once.
gaming laptop.
I have a gaming laptop too. That's what I use for all my streams.
Oh,
You know what I
is that me?
realized? Yeah, all the people commenting were basically us. So now now it's just us.
It's us, it's you two, and 2 other people. It looks like, and I think it's Ethan and somebody else. I don't know.
Are you able to see who is in your live stream when you're streaming, or it just tells you the number of people?
Just the number, yeah.
Oh, I see.
I wish
Okay.
I could see who's specifically in it. I can do that on Instagram, but not here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And it's streaming. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you how Jedi Prince is going.
I really like these books. They're very hokey but
Yeah.
they're charming. Like I was telling you earlier on Instagram,
Yeah.
The Lost City of the Jedi. They
Yeah.
link it back to the Tales of the Jedi comics because they say like after the Jedi show up at Yavin 4 and they raise Yavin 4 and destroy Exar Kun's temples and forces and stuff like that. Yavin 4 is obliterated, and then they build a lost city,
Right.
and that's how they get Yavin 4 to regrow, the jungle essentially, right? That's how they fix the ecosystem, and linking that, retconning it so that Jedi Prince, the Lost City of the Jedi, links back to that is just, I thought it's really cool. It's like one of those interesting things in the EU, like for example, Dark Forces Jedi Knight, how they have the Valley of the Jedi link back to the thought bomb on Rusan and stuff like that, right?
Right. Yeah, it's really cool.
There's the thing I love about the EU is that they just, these are retcons done right because they enhance the story, right? They're not retcons meant to fix anything. They're retcons like I think Lance, you mentioned earlier in the stream, Hethra and Desan being part of his movement.
Yeah.
That like just stuff like that. Those types of retcons I love. I just love them so much.
I will be right back.
Yeah, a lot of people hated. Oh yeah, we'll see you later, Alex. Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter where Alex went. He sucks anyway. But a lot of people don't like that retcon. I don't understand. I don't know. I guess because it takes one of the most popular EU stories and one of the least popular EU stories and connects them. That's what I love about it. I think it's, first of all, I mean, I just think it's great. It makes the EU that much more connected. But it's the irony in it that I think is hilarious.
Yeah. It also kind of provides a credible explanation as to how Desan has all these resources at his disposal, right? Because if you remember from Crystal Star, Hethra had quite a bit of financial backing. There were a bunch of old guard imperialists who were funding his whole operation, right? And so, Desan, he was essentially a apprentice at the Praxium. He leaves and then has basically the Imperial forces at his disposal. Like, how does that happen? So I think this is a good way of explaining how he comes into possession of, these stormtroopers, these ships, these weapons, that kind of thing. So
yeah, but the only thing I don't like about it is the game. It refers, because technically the name for the faction that Hethra has is the Empire Reborn. That's the official name.
Yeah.
But the game Jedi Outcast refers to it as the Imperial Remnant. But people can get confused with Pelion, but no, it's something separate. I mean, it's a remnant technically. Hethra did serve the Empire under Palpatine. He was an apprentice to Vader, but I don't know. It's not that big a deal, but I don't know, because I feel like I don't want people associating the Empire Reborn with the Remnant when they're different.
Right. So, I mean, it's semantics.
Yeah, Pelion is. I mean, he's a true successor to Palpatine. I mean, it's Pelion, or no, it's obviously Palpatine, and then I'd probably say it goes right after that to.
I saw. It was Sate Pestage for a while, and then it went to Izard.
Yeah, and then it went to Singe, sort of. I don't know. Would Singe be part of that?
I think Zinj was always kind of on the fringe. He was a warlord, right? So he was doing his own thing, and he was directly opposed to Izard. Um,
Yeah, I guess that's true.
but it
So then it
probably,
would be-
yeah, I don't know who from Izard, but it eventually goes to Thrawn and then back to the Emperor, and then uh, after that, there's that Imperial Council and Crimson Empire, right? They're the ones who are
it
calling
would
the
be
shots.
Karnor Jax. It would be Karnor Jax.
Arnor
after
Jax, right?
Sidious.
That's exactly right. Yeah,
And then it would be after Jax. It
probably
would
Pelion,
well, actually probably be Dala.
Dala,
Well,
right?
I don't know. I guess
You
it would be
mean
Pelion.
Jackson?
Yeah, Karnor Jackson.
you know,
I
when they had the action figure and they messed up.
And then
They
after
put
Dala,
Jackson. Sorry.
anyway, after Dala, it would be well Dala and Pelion briefly, and then it was back to Pelion. Stay with Pelion until well
Jag, I guess, took
Jaga
over, right?
fell.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jaga would have been next, and then his son, and then Royan fell, and then Marisia fell. Bam.
There you go, the entire history of the Empire. I don't remember when I'm rereading the X-Wing novels now. I'm on Wedge's Gamble, which is only the second one, so I'm not that far in. But I don't remember. So there's that book, Izard's Revenge, and I think it takes place after yeah.
It's in between Zahn's trilogy and
Right.
Anakin's trilogy.
But I don't remember when Izard was taken out originally, right? Because that's her revenge. But I just don't remember in the timeline. I have to read. The New Essential Chronology did a pretty good job of detailing post Return of the Jedi Imperial rulers. So
It probably would have been the Back to War, because
Yeah.
after that, that's when Alston came in and did Wraith Squadron.
yeah, and then it's a question of how does Trioculus fit in from the Jedi Prince series fit into all of this, because he's declared emperor by I'm reading this series right now, Supreme Prophet Kadan, right, of the Prophets of the Dark Side.
Yeah.
And that sort of you see, like, that kind of stuff it's tough to mesh with Izard ruling Imperial Center, right, and her being in charge of what we think are the main Imperial forces. So the only way I explain it is that, like, they're, it's just another faction at the time.
From what I've seen, Jedi Prince takes place before X-Wing. At least that's how I have it in my timeline on my
Yeah,
shelf.
that's I think you're right, actually. I think it takes place like a year after Return of the Jedi or something like that, whereas X-Wing is like 2 or 2.5 years after.
Yeah, I have it. Bounty Hunter Wars, Truce of Bakora, Heart of the Jedi, if you count that, and then Shadows of Mendor, Jedi Prince. That's how my timeline is set up.
Okay, so it still works then.
Yeah, it was just before. Well, I don't know if that's true though, because in Mara J by the Emperor's Hand, Izard kind of takes over. I guess she just took over Coruscant, maybe then.
Yeah, I think maybe that's the case. Is that she was just sort of the ruler of Imperial Center, right, of Coruscant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
interesting.
The X-Wing novels are, I don't know, have you read them before? They're really good.
I haven't. I know Heresy, right? But I've read like Courser Princess Leia. I remember I read Truce of Bakora, and then I went to see little dumb me back when I first started reading. I skipped the X-Wing because I'm like, oh, Luke is not in it, so I don't want to read it. I mean, I know I missed a lot of good stuff in there because I've read iJedi, I've read, Dark Tide. So I mean,
Right.
Corrin.
Corrin.
And then I read Enemy Lines. So I've experienced these characters before, and they're really good. I just haven't experienced X-Wing. So I have all the books. I have the whole series.
Just gives you something to look forward to when you go back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why I skipped it. But when I was reading from Truce of Bakora, and then I got to Courser Princess Leia, and I'm like, huh? What's going on? It was so weird. Because Courser Princess Leia, that's more New Republic era. Truce of Bakora is more Rebellion era.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a weird transition. I mean,
Yeah.
I skipped the whole story. So
As a kid growing up, I read every single post Return of the Jedi book, I guess except for Heart of the Jedi, because I didn't know it existed, except for Crystal Star, which I just read for the first time this year, and the the Corellian trilogy. Is that what it's called? The Ambush at Corellia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corellian trilogy.
It's by like some guy like Roger McBride Allen or something like that is the author.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good series.
I haven't read that series yet, so that's like the only up until Angeo, and I'm reading Fate of the Jedi, so for the first time too. But
sorry.
everything else. Sorry, what?
I said I'm sorry.
Oh, you said you're sorry. Yeah, I know. Me too. I actually really liked Legacy of the Force, but Fate of the Jedi, I haven't really been digging it all that much, and I thought I would because it's like Luke and Ben adventures and stuff like that. But no.
Yeah, I mean, there's parts of it I really like, but it's kind of boring to me.
Yeah.
And like all the politics is, which I also didn't like. But
although I will say,
because Lance hasn't gotten there yet.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to spoil anything. I will say though, I've only read the first 4 books, but Abyss, which is the 3rd book, there were some really, really interesting parts in there that I really liked. So,
were they involving Jason?
Like mystical Force parts, like Luke and Ben, sort of going beyond the realm of what we know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Cody Sparks is very
Fate of the Jedi. Cody, you may be right. I don't know. Like I've only read the first 4 books. There's 9 books, so let's see how it shapes up.
But Cody, see, the issue is that me and Marcel both like Legacy of the Force.
Yeah, that's true.
If we didn't like it, maybe we'd agree more.
Like I'm not a Denning apologist. I don't seem to hate him as much as other people do. No. So
I think he's one of the weaker authors of the EU. I don't think he's
that's for sure.
Awful thing either.
See, Troy Denning reminds me a lot of Prince Shizor.
How so?
Yeah.
He's a really good guy. Well, I mean, like Shizor's not a good guy, but he's a good character. But he's a freaking creepy weirdo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what fair. Denning reminds me of.
I still think that Steve Perry's worse than anything that Denning has done. But that's just me. Because at least the most egregious stuff you'll see in like Legacy of the Force or whatever, it's like, it's never like, I don't know. Because in Shadows of the Empire, like you actually get to be inside Caesar's head. So you know full well that he wants to take advantage of Leia and sexually abuse her. And I don't think it ever gets like that specific. Like you'll have like Jaina, she's in her underwear and bra, which is, like a Star Wars, so why? But at the same time, that's still like very PG-13. Like nobody has sex with their clothes on. But Steve didn't care.
Right. Titus, I think your chat is coming through. You said something earlier about the real Kadan or the imposter. Honestly, I don't even remember that there were 2 of them. So this is news to me. But these stories are like 30 years old. Yeah.
And I haven't read it, so I can't speak on it. It's one of the few things I missed.
I'm only on book 3, so I'm gonna get through all 6. Well, I go back to work on Monday, but I'm gonna get through all 6 hopefully by the end of next week. So.
Sorry, Titus. I don't know. I didn't see your question, so I'm actually looking at because when you said that we were talking about leaders of the Empire, and I was actually looking at my shelves the whole time. So
yeah, fair enough.
I was trying to see the characters and the stories or whatever.
But I did want to talk briefly about Steve Perry because I read Alex got me to read Shadow Games last month. And I remember reading up on Wikipedia that he was supposed to write that book with Michael Reeves, like co-write it. Mm-hmm. And I guess, I don't know, something went down with Lucasfilm and he got kicked off the project or I think they wanted to do something radically different than his original pitch or different enough that he got offended and basically walked away from the project, if I recall. And that's when they yeah, I think so. I actually really like Shadow Games. It's like a hidden gem in the EU.
It is a hidden gem. It's so good. Because I've never heard most people even talk about that book. And I read it and I was like, why does no one talk about this? It's so much fun.
Yeah.
But
oh, here we go. Abel established that Kadan and Jedi Prince was an imposter. The real prophets of the dark side are not even involved. See, I believe that.
I didn't know that.
I don't even know what y'all talking about. I've never read Jedi Prince, so I'm sitting here like the Kadan. What is that?
Well, there was.
Don't worry. When you do, you're gonna have a blast.
Yeah, It has pictures and everything. Make sure you get like a print copy with pictures because those pictures are actually really well drawn.
You know, I do have the books. I just
Okay, yeah,
haven't-
you have the
haven't used
omnibuses, don't you? Like the 2
Yeah.
volumes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those look
They're so
awesome.
fun.
Yeah.
It's actually cool because I guess some little kid must have had this where I got it, and some of the pictures are colored.
That's amazing.
So, which a lot of people would hate that. I think it's really cool.
I love that kind of stuff. I bought a bunch of Dungeons and Dragons books and like older ones, and people would color in the monsters and stuff like that, and I was all for it. I was like, it's like a piece of his. It's like been used by somebody else, and I kind of like that about it.
I don't
Yeah,
know if
that's
you can see
awesome.
the color. The lasers are red.
Yep.
I guess Trioculus has green skin in this, or someone. That, I don't know if that's Trioculus, but it's someone.
This
I don't
kid
remember.
should be hired at Lucasfilm.
Hell
Obviously.
yeah! Imagine if they're actually a Star Wars writer now. The person who originally had these.
And this kid turned out to be Matt Martin. No, I'm
Man,
just kidding.
And you know what? Fuck Matt Martin. I'm sorry for my language, but that dude is an idiot. I hate that dude.
Hey, speaking of which, and I don't know, maybe this is not the forum to talk about it, but Chris mentioned how Matt Martin gaslit fans, and I just want to know the story behind that because it makes sense to me. Anyway, we can talk about it later. But
I don't know. I just seen a couple of his tweets, and I'm like, this guy is an idiot. He's not nice. He's like the unknown Pablo Hidalgo. That's who he is. See,
Yeah.
look, who's
he's
Matt
part
Martin?
of the he's part of the story group at Lucasfilm, which apparently they have the easiest job in the world because they don't do anything, or if they do, nobody listens to them.
Yeah, Matt Martin. Matt, if you're watching, you suck, bro. He's not watching, but
Yeah.
if he watched later, you suck, Matt.
Chrono
You can
from,
really tell how much I
Andor.
like Lucasfilm.
Titus says maybe hanging out with Chrono, thinking of depraved things.
Huh.
I'm only a chapter in, so all I know is that Luke Skywalker wants an investigation on some crimes. I'm like, what the fuck? So that's
Is
that's nice.
Is Chronal the same character as Black Hole as Lord Shadowspawn?
I'm fairly certain, but I haven't read it. So
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I'm
I did
pretty
read
sure I hear
Mindor.
his name.
But
Yeah.
I read it when it came out, and honestly, like, I don't know. I've ever since like having a kid, like I forgot everything before having a child. Like I just forgot that my life before that time. So
Yeah, I hear those names brought up together when discussing that book. So I'm
Yeah.
assuming so, but I'm not
I
sure.
think so. There's also like a short story I think that kind of links everything together, or at least talks about Chronal / Shadowspawn in the Dark Empire source book from West End Games.
All right. Titus confirms that he has 3 names: Black Hole, Shadowspawn, and Chrono.
Same guy.
Oh, I mentioned him earlier. Shadowspawn, whatever his name is. I think Shadowspawn's the coolest of the 3, but
Mhm.
isn't he in I think isn't he in Shadows of Ender? I haven't read that book. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm reading right now. He was also in the old classic Star Wars comics that I read. He wasn't that important. He was just some like see-through guy. He's dark, so he's a black hole, and he's in command of these like black stormtroopers, dark troopers, and then Luke and Leia get out of that. I don't know. It's kind of hazy what goes on, but then this book happens, and then he gets defeated in a Tales comic, I guess.
Man, that's so embarrassing.
That sucks for him, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Imagine getting your life ended in a Tales comic. I mean,
Right.
that's hilarious, bro.
Man,
So
that
sick.
realization. Yeah, that realization is killing it, Lance.
Hey, looky here.
What's going on?
Scott
Scott?
Johnson?
The door
We have
Hello.
the most we have the
So I got in. I was just catching up on Chris's stream from earlier today, so I saw you guys were sharing.
We got the coolest guy out of all four of us here.
We got Hollywood Squares going on over here.
Right.
What's up, Scott? How are you?
Pretty good. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
All right. Cool.
We all have our face cams off because we're just cool like that.
All right. I gotta figure out how to stop mine. There we go.
You need a profile picture.
We should all just have various pictures of Matt Wilkins in like different poses.
Oh, yeah.
I have a couple on my phone of screenshots, but I don't have it on my laptop.
I'm sad to say my phone does not include any pictures of Matt Wilkins. That's a failing on my part.
Bro, you gotta fix that.
Yeah.
Is it
I need
wrong to
some
say that I?
stock pictures.
Is it wrong to say that I have a few pictures of Matt on my phone?
No, I don't think
You know
so.
what? With you, Alex, then Alex, with your obsession with naked Palpatine, it's not that weird, to be honest with you.
No. You know, the picture of him where he's like at a convention and he's holding like the two slave girls' collars. I have that.
I'm gonna go to some Matt Wilkins videos, and I don't know if I can take screenshots on here though. I don't know how to. Oh well. Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, I don't think you would appreciate that. Unlicensed screenshots, you know.
Without any kickbacks.
Yeah, you need to at least drop them like a super chat or super thanks or something, just for using this stuff.
Ethan, that's a great idea.
Absolutely.
I mean, I would support that. Donate to Ethan's Google Photos album. He doesn't need any money, but whatever. There are hundreds of pictures of Matt. You know what? I have Discord. I'm gonna look that up right now.
Titus
on
is
the
the-
desk, by the way. Titus
Yeah.
says.
Titus is the resident chronal the resident chronal authority.
I'm assuming he really likes Shadows of Mindor, which I'm reading for the first time right now.
I mean, it's Matt Stover. Even though it's my least favorite of the Stover novels, it's still like one of the better EU novels out there, in my opinion. So, yeah.
We'll see how I feel, considering I have a lower opinion of Shatterpoint, which everyone praises.
Yeah.
Matthew Stover has me blocked on Twitter.
Why?
Damn.
Sorry.
It's kind of funny, but I disagree with him on politics, and he blocked me. Oh well,
man.
I think
Some of the
it's
authors are
hilarious.
Are you proposing Matt NFTs?
I haven't gotten blocked by anyone on Twitter yet, but I did get into it with somebody the other day who got angry at me because I called the EU the original timeline. And I was like, look, man, like it is by any definition of the word original, the original timeline. And he said it was an insightful term.
How? What?
I just hate like some people in this world. And I'm not saying it's like one side of the political spectrum or not. I don't really care about that kind of thing. But like they just want to police the type of language that other people use to an extreme that is just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to say he's like it's called Legends, or you can call it the alternate timeline. And I'm like, original fits just as well as the other two. And I even like put the dictionary definition of original in my tweet, and he just kept saying it was like hateful. I'm like, dude, you coming into my Twitter and calling me out on this and fighting me over it is hateful, not me using a benign term.
Yeah. You are.
I have a
Everybody's
story on that. I'm trying to download this picture. Anyway, you guys know me when I'm talking about the new canon. I use the term new canon, right? People will be like, "It's not the new canon; it's the old canon." Basically, they use never canon. But if you go, I have Into the Dark, the High Republic book. If you look at the back of that, there's a whole bunch of reviews. The hardback, I don't know what the paperback looks like, but the hardback for that book, the back of it, there's a whole bunch of reviews. And like 3 of those reviews, I think one of them is from theforce.net. It calls it the new canon. It uses that term.
Right.
It's like, this is a term Lucasfilm uses. I mean, at least in the reviews that they post for the book, like, because you know how a bunch of books will put reviews of the book from different
Right.
websites.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've made a video about that on Instagram. I just thought it was the funniest thing ever. It's like even Lucasfilm is using this term. This is not a me thing. This is a Lucasfilm thing.
When I was
Yeah.
a 12 to 13-year-old, I spent literally days at a time on the Force.net message boards talking about the NJO.
Ah, hell yeah! I wish I was around for those days.
Yeah. For the
Yeah.
I'm
old
always
forums.
saying,
Some
I'm
of them
always
are
saying,
still around. The forums on the Force.net, you can actually go back quite a ways with those.
Oh, God.
The Star Wars.com ones are gone, unfortunately. But if you do some digging, you can
I'll
find
probably
some.
find my old
Re-
user handle on there or something.
Yeah, I forget what mine was actually, but you can go back and find Leland Shee's quotes there. Some of the authors there. Michael Stackpole, I think, was on there quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's endless pages of decades old discussions.
Man, that stuff, it's part of Star Wars history in a way, right? It's just,
Yeah, and to get a sense of like what was coming out at the time and what we thought, what our initial like first impressions were of some of the stuff. Like I remember the Clone Wars TV show, and everybody was like, how does this fit? Is this, because the established timeline for the Clone Wars, they had it down to the month at that point, and this
yeah.
just like threw a wrench into it, and they were like, well, how are we going to sort this out? And they were asking Leland like, what's going to be done? And he's like, don't worry, guys, we're going to sort this out. Just let the show run. And unfortunately, that never happened. But
Yeah.
just for
Disney.
first impressions on all the novels, going back to like early Clone Wars, like Shatterpoint, and like just ideas on who's going to turn to the dark side. Like, are there going to be extra dark Jedi that we've never seen before? Who's going to replace Darth Maul? Is Count Dooku going to be in Episode 3? There's all this speculation about this stuff that it's kind of funny to look back on.
Yeah, those were the days. I wish I could relive some of that time. I had like all the time in the world, and just reading people. I remember the NJO, like I was talking about it today, and spoilers for anyone who hasn't read Star by Star, but what I was trying to get at, this was in our group chat, Lance and Alex, but I was trying to get at when Coruscant was conquered and it was turned into Yuuzhan Tar, and it was Vong formed. We had to wait like a few months for the next, or the next few books. Like, we didn't know what was coming. We're like, did they just destroy Coruscant? Did they just ruin it for all time? And then you see like afterwards, like it kind of goes back to the way it was. It's like slightly Vong form, but it's still like a metropolis, covered in buildings and that kind of thing. But at the time, we're like, oh, has Coruscant been turned into like some kind of forest or jungle world now? Like, people were freaking out about it. And you had to wait months and months to see what was coming next. And I don't know, it was just, I like that. I like that, having that sense of excitement, that sense of like wondering what's coming next. Like, I don't feel that way about the new material because they're not really taking those types of risks. They're just kind of, like I said a few times now, a lot of the new canon books in the Rebellion and the post Return of the Jedi era are character studies. They're not really like plot driven stories. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's why Heart of the Jedi meant a lot to me, because look, I read the book, honestly didn't really like it, but that's not the point. The book itself, I mean the hype around that book last year was just, for someone like me who's a young guy, that was the closest I've ever gotten to a new EU
Yeah.
book coming out, people buying it, people reading it for the first time, people
Right.
talking about it, experiencing it. That's the
Yeah.
closest I've ever gotten to that.
that's exactly
So,
right. Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
though,
That's exactly how I
yeah,
felt.
even though I read the book, I didn't really like it, but it still is very special to me. And I've made so many posts on it, Instagram, and that should show you guys like how much I really love that time. So that's why I really want Escape from Dagu to be released.
Yeah.
That would be
That way.
awesome.
By the way, speaking of that, did y'all see Chris Nelson's stream earlier today?
Yes.
Yes. He does not have a
Does he
copy.
See what
Or is that
he
a
did.
trick? Or is that a
Dude.
trick? I saw it. Paused it. It was so.
He
It is
purposely
Dagu.
he purposely showed off that artwork. Just I don't think he has the novel because I think if he did, it would be around. He would share it with other people. I would hope, but he definitely has some like artwork, some posters, some promotional material for Escape from Dagu because that was all created. You know, it had a scheduled release date. And it just got scrapped in favor of Yoda Dark Rendezvous. It got replaced in the release schedule. But it's completed. You know, the author still has it. He just unfortunately won't release it.
Yet.
Dude, Chris probably has a whole stack of books that are just unreleased material that we don't know about.
I believe he has one. I believe he has
Well,
one.
I bet he
I
has.
can say that.
You know, I just imagine how much unreleased material is still out there that's undiscovered. Imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be. I mean, it could be an entire comic series, or even if it's just like a couple of issues of a comic. You know, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But Lance, major credit to you for I didn't know that Heart of the Jedi existed. And I learned about its existence. I guess I wasn't sort of in the community last March when the whole thing dropped, but I learned about it through one of your Instagram videos, and I immediately went on eBay and got myself a copy because I was like, how? Okay, so I think I've told this story a couple times now, but like I got myself a copy. So I met the guy on eBay, but then we sort of transferred our discussions to Facebook Marketplace, and then I met him in some coffee shop parking lot at like 8:30 at night and bought the book off of him for like $100 straight cash.
Oh God, I'm so sorry.
I mean, that's actually not bad
$50.
compared to some of the prices I've seen.
Yeah,
but the guy
that's
kept me
true,
there
but-
for like an hour and a half talking to me about like very very what I would consider to be like extremist views about this guy was definitely part of the fandom menace. And my wife's texting me. She's like, "Are you dead? Are you alive? Like, why haven't you come home yet?" And I'm like, I just don't want to leave this guy in this parking lot because if I do, I'm afraid that he's going to attack me or stab me or something like that. So I need to indulge him until he lets me leave. But he talks so much, and to this day, I'm like, that worth it. That whole encounter and conversation was worth it because I got Heart of the Jedi for $100.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
it's not bad because as soon
Yeah.
as it got scrapped from Amazon, they were going
It
for
went
like
up.
$500. Insane.
So 100 got better.
Ethan, Heart of the Jedi drug deal, epic. It definitely was a drug. That's what it felt like, and I felt like I was doing something illegal because I was like, this book shouldn't exist, but here it is in my possession. Yeah, good times. That was like 2 months ago, by the way. So
Gosh.
I think you told me that story in a DM.
yeah,
Meanwhile,
there's
I got it for
several
$50.
versions. Yeah, there's several versions of Heart of the Jedi going around. If you look on some of the Facebook groups of just dealing in Star Wars books, some people have printed their own hard copies and various different covers, and there's a lot of different like fan bootleg versions going on around there.
here, I can take a look at when mine was published. Like, it should have like some kind of date on it, right?
If it's the Amazon version, it has a print date. Yeah, it should be sometime May of last year.
I'm gonna check my copy.
I think I have a May 3rd and like a May 1st.
Where would I
Mine's
find it?
been
Oh,
for
okay. I have a May 3rd, 2021. Made in the USA, Moni, Illinois.
Mine says 2015.
Look in the back, the very back, like the
Oh.
last page.
Oh, May 1st, 2021. How about
Yeah.
that? Oh, Coppell, Texas. I live in Texas. I don't know where that is though.
It was made in your backyard.
Yeah, how lucky am I?
probably the nearest
on Turbo
Amazon
Cali.
print facility. Titus is just looking at Titus's comment. Yeah, the events of Escape from Dagu are canonical. If you look in some of the essential chronologies, I think it was the new essential chronology. They outlined some of the events because they already had the story written and everybody reviewed it. So it was included in some of the chronology, like the official holocron and that.
Now, if only we could get the story.
If only. But I mean, like I'm heartened by the whole Heart of the Jedi thing because I feel like it, it's like never say never. Like I don't like if you would ask somebody in 2019, oh, do you think something like this would ever happen? I feel like they would be a bit more pessimistic about it, right?
Well, the story existed
Sorry,
as far as I
2015,
understand online.
right? Because
So, yeah,
yeah.
2015. So it's just a physical copy of it. There was a hardcover for a bit in because Matt has a hardcover from 27 or something that somebody released online, and that was quickly taken down. And then the most recent one from last year was the one we've all got.
Yeah, the PDF was on Joe Bongiorno's site. Star Wars,
right.
StarWarsTimeline.net since 2015, and since then, certain fans have created their own, bootleg versions, even prior to it appearing on Amazon last year. So there's a lot of different versions out there, hardcover and softcover.
Well, if y'all haven't gotten your copies yet, which I think all of y'all have, but if you're if someone is watching this, that you didn't join stream, go to Star Wars Timeline. The YouTuber dude seems like he's putting a Heart of the Jedi giveaway every day, and no one watches his stuff anyway. So go ahead and check that out.
Is that the guy on Twitter, Star Wars Timeline?
He's mean to Lance.
Yeah, I don't know.
He loves to bully me, but I end up roasting the hell out of him every time anyway. So.
You know my issues with that guy. I think he's like the definition of, sorry if anyone really likes him, toxic positivity.
Yeah, he's kind of like the opposite of the Phantom Menace. It's like the other extreme. So.
I just think, it's okay to criticize the things that we love. And every time he comes close to it, and I've called him out on it a couple times, being like, yeah, I agree with your criticism. He's dialed it back or backpedaled and said, no, that wasn't a criticism. Like, let's not, take this too seriously, that kind of thing. And I don't know. Well, he just seems combative, in my opinion.
He needs to get laid.
I mean, I don't know. I think might be married. I don't know. I've only seen a couple of his videos.
I feel bad for his wife then.
Is he the older
He was on
guy
Matt's stream once.
Is on the petitions. He pushes these petitions to get.
Yeah, he pushes the petitions.
Yeah,
Jedi Knight.
That guy.
Yeah. I won't comment.
Well, exactly. Yeah, and maybe I shouldn't have said anything either. I don't like to talk poorly about people I don't even know, but my encounters with him. Yeah, he's just been needlessly combative.
I don't know.
I'm biased.
I don't feel bad about it at all. I hope he watches.
Yeah, that's why.
Oh
my goodness. Well, I'm biased because I like Lance, and I know that they haven't had the best relationship. So,
I mean, the dude literally. He called me a fake fan. He said I need to get a job. Yeah. I mean, doesn't this sound like high school stuff? Ironically, I'm in high school, but I don't remember what it was about. I think I was calling out new canon authors or something,
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey," and Kate Skywalker was my profile picture on Twitter, so he said, "Go suck some death sticks or whatever." It's I'm like.
And the thing that me, I guess I'll leave it with this, is that he's like a real man, somewhere around, Matt's age, and he's arguing with you on Twitter, and he does a big job, and I need up, and nobody cares about your opinion, you're just some dumb teenager, essentially. I'm paraphrasing. He's the one taking the time out of his day to respond to you.
Right.
So.
Yeah, so I ended up unfollowing him on Twitter. I just, I appreciate that he's trying to, get these stories made and promote, like I think he also had a petition for like the Young Jedi Knights books to be reprinted and stuff like that. Like I'm on board with that, but I just don't really care for his content. And
Yeah.
I mean,
nothing,
his YouTube
nothing
videos
against
are
him.
his YouTube videos are so different from his Twitter posts. It's like his YouTube videos are fun, they're exciting, they're chill. You go to his Twitter, it's
Yeah.
like a different guy.
People who go to Twitter, and this is like for myself as well, they choose violence. Okay. You don't go to Twitter I made like a meme about this the other day. You don't go to Twitter to have like a good interaction with the fandom. You go to Twitter to battle people.
I mean, I can speak for that. I mean, I go to Twitter and battle people. Well, I use Twitter just for shit posts and giggles and stuff like that. But
I've never gotten into an argument with another human being on Instagram, in the comments and anything. And then like on Twitter, I think I breathe, and someone just takes issue with it.
Yeah,
that's why I choose
Twitter's
Instagram
awful
as
place.
a platform.
Yeah,
Instagram is like
I stay away from Twitter altogether. Like YouTube and a little bit of Facebook. That's the extent of my social media.
Yeah. That's
You know
fair.
what? It probably for the best though. Like that's good.
Yeah.
A positive mental health choice that you've made, Scott.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically because I don't have time for it.
Yeah.
Fair.
You get into like conversations and people try to, prove a point. It's a waste of your time for the most
Yeah.
part.
You're so right. I'll be on Noah's Discord and it'll be 2 hours past. Like, no, I wasted so much time. So I understand that.
Yeah, I mean, Discord is weird because there's some really like in the weeds, super detailed EU discussions in certain groups, but I don't have time to follow it because the alerts and the messages and it's just too much. I can't go digging through all that just to find out, oh, this lost RPG magazine or this this lost foreign published, that has Star Wars EU in it. It's too much for me.
That's why my Discord is always on Do Not Disturb, because I don't want my phone blowing up with needless notifications about stuff I don't even care about. So
Yeah.
Mentions. I have a thing is only on own mentions, and I'll go back and I'll check it when I have the time. But like, there's 400 messages I'll come back to every day. So
Yeah.
Twitter and TikTok are like the worst place for EU fans because there's so many EU haters love those. I don't know why.
Oh, for
but
sure.
They love those sites.
Huh.
They love them. It's weird, but Instagram is pretty chill.
the most
YouTube
part, yeah.
is kind of a mix. Facebook, I don't know. I don't have Facebook. But yeah,
Well,
Twitter and TikTok.
Not to get like too political, but I just wanted to bring up and Lance, I know you had sort of tweeted about this too the other day, but like there was this comment that the EU was, there wasn't much diversity in the EU in terms of, like gender diversity, sexual diversity, and racial diversity and that kind of thing. And I made the point, I think Lance made it too, a lot has changed in Western society in the last decade.
Right.
And had the EU continued, you would have seen those types, more representation. But the fact of the matter is that it didn't.
Y'all can go.
No, that's
Sorry.
it. That's it. The fact of the matter is that it didn't.
Yeah.
Well,
Looked like Scott was going to say.
I just have a couple things to say about that. The fact that they make Obi-Wan Kenobi bisexual.
Yeah.
Right.
In 1977, bisexual wasn't even a thing. Or the definition of what that was like having characteristics of both sexes. It wasn't what we think of bisexual as today.
Right.
It was just such a totally different thing. You can't put today's culture and just backtrack and paste it over what happened in the past, even in the 90s. Like that just wasn't a thing. So
that's exactly right.
I think that's an unfair. It's an unfair comparison to look back and say, oh well, there was no diversity. I mean, it wasn't a thing back then. So
exactly.
You gotta critique a time period based on what the time period was like, not based on your modern sensibilities. It's unfair to do that because, of course, everything is going to seem, not as progressive or not as scientifically accurate or whatever it is because it's in the past. So you gotta judge the past by the standards of the past.
Yeah.
But it's such a weird argument to make, and I get it. Maybe those stories don't appeal to you, not you guys in this chat, but like you as a consumer, because you don't feel like you're representing those stories, and that's totally fair. But to say that they're intrinsically or inherently bad as a result of that just doesn't make sense to me.
I will say I don't want to get too political either, but I have never needed to have somebody be my skin color to understand or empathize or relate to a character. I can look at somebody who's black and completely empathize and understand that person's character and story and enjoy it, or white or whatever. It doesn't matter. What matters is the storytelling. If that person happens to be black, awesome. But that shouldn't, in my opinion, that shouldn't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing about the expanded universe, I mean, it was primarily novels. There were a lot of comics as well, but in the novels, they didn't detail every character's race or what they looked like. Sometimes it was a very simple description of what they looked like. And then you'd see something like, in Star Wars Insider, this Grand Admiral, I guess he's a black guy. Who would have thought? It's like a lot of that stuff. It didn't matter, unless there was a picture of the character. And now it seems like with a lot of the new canon, especially the High Republic, like there's depictions, there's pictures of all the characters in the books, and that just wasn't a thing for the most part in the expanded universe. So that's kind of a new thing as well.
That's a good point.
I kind of want to add a lot of stuff there, but see that original Twitter post, it's like most of the EU came out from early 90s to 2014, right? In between those years, gay marriage was a huge raging debate. I mean, it had been even before the 90s, but it was really the 90s, early 2000s. That's really when it was a debate. And a lot of the consensus was no, but a lot of it was yes. I mean, I was young, but from what I understand, it was just a debate, That was one of the questions, like for example, in 2008, the presidential debate, I mean, they asked, do you support gay marriage? Stuff like that. So it was kind of a debate by then, or at that time. So it's like in media, gay characters weren't really accepted. It's not that they didn't exist. They just weren't, there just wasn't a lot of them. So of course that's going to transcend over to the EU, because EU is media at the time. Well, it was, some of the media, of course. But then you look at, but as we get later into the EU's lifespan, especially with SWTOR, once SWTOR came out, that's when the LGBTQ population skyrocketed in the EU. There's a ton of gay characters in that game.
That's right.
And remember, gay marriage has recently, it's been very recent since it was legalized. It was in 2015.
Okay,
that's very recent. So that was long after the decanonization and stuff.
Right.
So
in my country, so in Canada, I think it was legalized in 2005, but because of most Canadian media that we consume as American, you didn't really see it represented in our culture until like it was sort of, I would say it was like in lockstep with what you guys would have seen in America. So even though it was legalized like a decade earlier, we didn't really, we weren't being, it wasn't being represented like, gay couples weren't being represented in media in 2006, and to a large extent in at least my lived experience, that was not the case, right? So it wasn't really
around, but it wasn't abhorrent, or it wasn't like all over the place. But you could find it here and there in like media. I think like Friends, if I remember, had some gay characters, and that was mostly in the 90s and early 2000s. So and there's shows like that really had it. It just wasn't everywhere. So I mean, and even the EU, whether people like Karen Travis or not, you did have like they weren't a main character, but she did put that stuff in there. We had like two guys holding hands or something like that, and
that's right.
Or
and
Ferris Olin,
very subtly said to be, but
you can see it if you look for it, but it's also not like super upfront with Ferris Olin in The Last of the Jedi having a partner.
Right.
So
Yeah, if you go back further enough, like back in the 90s, a lot of times the stereotype, like the stereotypical gay character was like an evil, creepy guy. I think back to like AC Crispin's trilogy. I think that the Imperial Moff there was gay
Right.
or supposed to be gay.
yeah,
And you know, you have a lot of stereotypical things where like the bad guy's a fat, you know, obese guy or gay or something. That was a common trope back then.
yeah,
So things have changed.
yeah. There was
Yeah,
that
and
one
I
movie
think-
with Robin Williams. That's a funny movie. You know the movie with Robin Williams, the Birdcage, or whatever it's called.
I don't remember that one, but I might not have seen it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
him
I don't-
and some other dude are playing gay characters.
I see.
I think
been a while
I think
since
if
I watched
the
it.
EU ultimately got continued, we definitely would have seen a lot more gay characters. And I say that because first of all, the times would have been changing. Second of all, look at the Twitter accounts of a lot of the authors: Christy Golden, Troy Denning, Matthew Stover, Michael Stackpole. They're very liberal.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
lean
Very
left for sure.
liberal.
Yeah.
So they would have
Yeah.
definitely put a lot more in there because the times are changing. It was more acceptable. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's another reason to continue the EU. If you want more gay characters, continue the EU, and you'll get more. Most definitely.
Even like Paul S. Kemp, he leans like pretty left as well, and he wrote for the EU. A few other authors as well. So anyways, I thought it was such a silly comment to make, and I don't mean to like ridicule that person, but I just feel like maybe like think about what you're saying before you say it. And nobody does on Twitter. I don't even do that sometimes on Twitter, but
Yeah.
it's comments like that are harmful.
It's like
Yeah.
criticizing a movie from the 1940s for not having racial diversity. It's like, dude, it's the 1940s.
But people totally do that.
Expect-
Yeah,
Yeah.
people totally do that. They're like, we should wipe this movie out of existence because it doesn't meet today's standards. And I just stuff like that just really gets the hairs on the back of my neck to stand up. Like it scares me because it's like, I made this comment on Twitter and I stand by it. My wife's like, why are you making, political comments on Twitter? But I'm like, but this is like, I think,
Controls your Twitter.
yeah, no, I showed her like afterwards. I was like, look, I'm so proud of this comment. But anyways, the comment was basically the extent was like, it's one thing to, change the way that you think, but it's another thing to like pretend like it never happened.
Yeah.
And I have issues, to like wipe it out of existence. I have issues with doing that, with pretending this never happened or burying it or canceling it, that kind of thing, right? So that's just me.
Yeah. And Ethan makes a good point down in the comments that there was racial diversity because Shatterpoint was basically an all-black cast.
Right.
And even Depa is like, I mean, obviously these are all fake races because it's Star Wars, but she's very clearly like an Indian lady.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that book alone is diversity, the book, but it's just not like the point of the book, which would, I have not, I'm not very hidden on my Instagram. It's my Instagram. It's about who I am. So, sometimes I'll post things here and there. I'm more center right. I'm not gonna be like the Phantom Menace and complain about everything. But have gay characters, have people of color, but have their characters be good. Don't just include them because you need to fill a quota that they're gay, because that diminishes what a person is. And I think people need to watch what they ask for, because if you're asking just for gay characters, how does that actually like progress anything if that is their character? Like it's almost the same as the evil guy from AC Crispin's trilogy, just that they're not evil, they're just gay. And I think that's equally as a hindrance.
Yeah, you don't want to put characters in there just for, identity politics, like just because of their identity, whether they be, of color or a certain sexual preference, that defeats the purpose.
The purpose, yeah.
Yeah, and
That's why
I
Shatterpoint, I don't. It's not my favorite book. It's not because there's a bunch of colored people in it. It's just because I found it a bit boring. But I mean, I
We're
have
on
no
to you,
problem with
Alex.
Mace
No,
Windu.
I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding.
I'm a racist Mexican. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think with see what I hate a lot, and not every gay character in Disney Star Wars is like this, but some of them are. They're just it's like their whole personality trait is that they're gay. You know, and it's like
Right.
if gay people are not like that in real life. I have numerous gay friends. I know a lot of gay people. They're way more. They're people. You know,
Yeah,
their sexuality
they're
is
more
not.
nuanced.
You know, it's not their personality. It's not a. It's a part of them. It's part of their identity, but it's not their personality. And I feel like I remember in the High Republic comics, and there was those non-binary twins. I just
Yeah, like
felt like while reading the
Carrick
whole
and
thing-
Carrot or something
yeah,
like
I
that.
just felt
Yeah.
like, I mean, there were some parts where they were pretty cool, but it's like I felt like the whole point of them, just being in it is, hey, we have non-binary characters, and
Yeah.
it's like, okay, non-binary people are people. They're way more than their identity. It's not their personality, At least it shouldn't be. So, and most of the time, it's not. They're people. They have a personality, they have feelings, thoughts, desires, things like that. They're normal people. So it's
Yeah.
just that's one of my issues. Like I don't mind gay characters or racial diversity. I mean, I don't care. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I just don't care. It's not that big a deal to me. But I think when it's put in there just to say, hey, look, we have a gay character, and if the entire point of that character existing is because they're gay, that's kind of the most stereotypical thing you could do, because one of the stereotypes gay people have is that it's their whole personality, and they make their whole personality their sexual orientation or whatever. Well, that's not true. So I don't know. I think their attempt to diversify Star Wars is just it's making the LGBTQ community look even worse. And and with the whole what was that game, the Eclipse game, where the new game that was announced, and the studio making it was a bunch, like, they literally said that they didn't want, well, they called gay people a slur, but they didn't want this certain slur to play their games or whatever. And it's like,
But did they say that? Oh my God.
they said they don't want the F word playing their games. That's what they said. At least the owners said it.
Peter it's like Peter Molyneux or something like that. Is that maybe that's not the guy?
I
Okay.
don't really remember. I don't remember what was the game. It was some French company, but the point I'm trying to make is Lucasfilm will, we're pro gay or whatever, pro LGBTQ, but then you team up with these anti LGBTQ companies, and it's like that's another issue I have with this whole LGBTQ thing that they're doing, is they're not even staying true to it. Now, there's been a lot of Lucasfilm fans, or new canon fans, that are like, no, this is not right. There's a hashtag, I think it's called hashtag Blackout Star Wars Eclipse, I think it's called. I definitely support that because, well, I mean, I honestly don't care about the game, but it's like Lucasfilm says, oh, we'll put all these gay characters in our books, but then you team up with an anti-gay company. So it's I think that's another thing I don't like about it.
Yeah, I think a lot of those hashtags, they're just to try to get some people talking about the game, because I don't think anybody's talking about the game otherwise. So they want to rile people up and say, oh, you want to be for gay characters or against gay characters or companies, and I think that's just I don't know. It's a lot of fluff. It's just people trying to generate hype when their hype isn't there, because the game doesn't seem that interesting to me.
Well, and it's not coming out for like years. So
that game is never going to come out. I'm saying it now. That game will never come out. I'm saying it now.
Yeah, Star Wars, since LucasArts stopped operating, their video game scene has been just abysmal. Like, I think there's only been like a few games in the last almost decade. There's Battlefront 1 and 2,
like 5 or 6.
Yeah, Jedi Fallen Order, and there's a couple others. And that's just, it's so sad, because in the decade prior to that, there was just so many games that were coming out. And I don't play as many video games now as I did back in the day, but I would love to play a Star Wars game. Like, I enjoyed Jedi Fallen Order. I think it's one of the best things in the new canon is that video game. Um,
I watched
I watched the cutscenes.
cutscenes. Yeah, the
Same.
cutscenes were pretty great. You know, it was
Yeah.
almost like you were watching a movie. You know,
Yeah.
you didn't
I'll
even
give
need to
credit where
play
credit-
the game to enjoy it.
Yeah, and I'll give credit where credit's due, and because I haven't seen that much of canon, so I don't critique it or speak its praise or anything. But I did watch the cutscenes like Scott for Jedi Fallen Order, and I will say this: I think he did an excellent job with Vader. He's probably the most intimidating I've seen him in a lot of things.
yeah.
So, oh, and by the
I
way,
like
Ethan
it.
says that Quantic Dream was the
Yeah,
original
that's the
company.
name of the company. Yeah,
Quantic Dream. Okay.
But yeah, in general, the licensing model of creating Star Wars video games, I don't think hasn't worked. It's been a failure for the large part. And
Well, it's EA.
getting rid of LucasArts or just dismantling them was a huge mistake, in my opinion. They never should have done that. And I remember the headline when that first came out, when it was first announced. Everybody's like, "Oh, that's a great idea." You know, LucasArts has been irrelevant for years. I'm like, no, it hasn't. I don't know. It was almost like anything that was said, anything that Disney put out was a great idea. You know, it's just, I don't know, garbage.
Yeah, you ask people what are some of the greatest Star Wars games, and they'll be mentioning games that LucasArts made or published. You know, KOTOR, Jedi Outcast.
Those Dark
X-Wing.
Forces Jedi Knights games are amazing.
Yeah,
Force Unleashed
Yeah.
even is a really good game. If you're into that kind of game.
SWTOR, that's another one.
SWTOR, yeah.
Yeah.
And if they did another
SWTOR's
Dark
one.
Forces, if they did another Dark Forces game now, I think it would sell tremendously. You know,
Absolutely.
Kyle Katarn. I mean, that's a timeless character. You could keep using that on and on throughout, New Jedi Order and on through the Legacy
Oh my
era.
gosh, a new Jedi Order game would be that'd be insane. But also, you could revamp it. I don't know if Scott, because I don't know how many newer games you played, but they did a remake of Doom. It was kind of a soft continuation because it's not necessarily going over the old Doom game, but it's completely revamped the gameplay, the graphics, and story and everything. So you could do something like that with Kyle Katarn, since it's basically a Doom ripoff anyway, and
Well, the first two were kind of Doom ripoffs, Dark Forces 1 and 2, and I think the one with Mara Jade, Mysteries of the Sith, was a little bit like that too. It used the same engine, but
That's
with
right.
with Jedi Outcast and what was the other one, Jedi Academy. I mean, they integrated so much of the EU, like Luke's Academy, and they had references to like Corran Horn and some of the other Jedi instructors there, and they integrated that so well within the EU, with the Reborn Order and tying it to Hethriar and the Crystal Star. I thought that was genius, and you could make a video game that tells its own story, but just sort of integrates into like New Jedi Order, or just carefully like intersects certain things in the timeline, but tells an original story that's interesting that no one's ever heard before. I think you could do that really well with Dark Forces, and that was just a missed opportunity that they didn't continue that series.
And fighting a Vong would be awesome.
Oh yeah.
Also,
sure.
Oh God, yeah.
Titus says, I've always been confused about diversity in Star Wars. It's literally a sprawling galaxy with trillions of life forms. How diverse could you possibly get, unless being defined by skin color or sexual orientation automatically means diversity?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer to that.
Aliens. I mean, it is a galaxy sprawled with aliens. So, I mean, it is diverse. It's just specifically when they talk about diversity, they're talking about the humans.
Right. But it speaks to a larger cultural issue that certain segments of the population just feel like they haven't really been represented in any entertainment media in, the last 100 years or however long since we've had, movies and shows and that kind of thing. So I think that's sort of what it speaks to. But me as like a white male, I hesitate to weigh in on this issue. So.
I think you have a right to speak. I mean, I understand, I guess, where people come from. I just see issue with identifying or connecting with someone that doesn't look like you. There's so many great characters that have been a big for me. I've connected with them and I've felt that.
Right.
I just don't see how I have to have somebody look like me in order to actually. I mean, I guess it's just that there hasn't been as many actors of that color. I guess I get that, but if it's a book, there's no actor then, so they could just write whatever. But I don't know. It's just like the Fandom Menace with like getting upset about the tiniest little thing. I think it's weird to like need that to be able to enjoy a story or to feel
I guess-
validated about yourself.
Yeah, I guess they think that, I don't know, white people see themselves in movies. Like I see myself as Luke Skywalker. I've never thought that way.
Right.
So maybe that's what they think, but
Yeah.
I don't identify with individual characters in the movie. I watch a movie for what it's worth, and I take the characters for what they're worth. So,
Y'all are right. I mean, I agree with y'all, but like, I don't want to say I disagree, but like, I can understand like why, a black person would want to see another black person, because I hate to sound psychological or anything, but like, if you look at our evolution, when we see someone that looks like us, when we see someone that is similar to us, we automatically want to connect to that person. It's like, and that's kind of why racism is a thing, because you see people who are different from you and you automatically fear them because you don't know them, because they are different. And that's kind of why a lot of people have a fear of, I hate to say a fear of disabled people, but like it's like we want to stare at disabled people or stuff like that, because we don't understand it. So, but if you see someone that looks like you want to connect to that person. You're a little bit more attracted to that person because it's something that you're comfortable with. That's kind of why I can see that, which is why I don't mind it. That if they put a bunch of black hair, I don't care. Because
I don't care either.
Happen, but like,
Yeah.
black people can. Anyone can relate with anyone. It's just, it's easier to some people to relate to people that they look like or whatever. So
I can understand that.
I don't think it's really they see themselves as Luke Skywalker or whatever. It's just they see someone that looks like them so they can connect with him better, if that makes sense. I don't know, but that's
I get why they feel that way. I guess I just don't disagree. I don't disagree with them for feeling that way. I don't see the need for it, I guess, but it's more of a tomato thing. It's fine. Titus says in relation to humans, I guess also Lance, I may have misheard you, but you said something about characters in the EU having their entire personality being gay. About Juhani, I think he meant Disney canon. But yeah, Juhani from KOTOR, you literally wouldn't really know that unless you explored that and asked her really about it. But yeah, she's just a cool character. She happens to be gay. She's a good example.
Yeah,
she's a good example of a gay character done correctly. She's a normal character with her own struggles. She's a normal person, but she happens to be attracted to women. Or to people, I say women, but people of the same gender as her.
Yeah.
It's not Central Trigger that she's disregarded, Titus. Disregarded.
Yeah. I've always liked Lando and Mace, not because I'm black, though. I'm not really concerned about their skin color. Yeah, I mean, Lando and Mace. I mean, Lando's one of the best characters. I love Lando. I'm black. Matt Wilkins is white, and he loves Lando because Lando's
Lando's amazing.
That's why.
Who doesn't
I
love
hate
Lando?
Mace Windu.
What?
I
hate Mace Windu.
I low key blame Mace Windu for Anakin's fall. I know he's not solely or even mostly responsible, but I low key blame him for Anakin's fall. So it's very hard for me to get out. Like, I just rewatched Revenge of the Sith like a week ago, and I'm like, Mace, you are such a jerk. Like, tone it down.
He definitely comes off that way.
He's a hard ass, but
yeah.
I mean, everybody has a coach or something that's been hard on him, a mentor or something. Like, I find that Anakin needed somebody like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Iron Inquisitor is here.
Yes. You
He's
should
like though,
join.
'cause I'm gonna be in the stream soon. So 'cause
And he's got the Inquisitor photo too, which is awesome.
that's
he does.
blasphemy. It's not blasphemy, but I mean, I don't know.
But Alex,
It's
I
like,
mentioned
I don't know how Deborah Chow looked at that and like she was like, "Oh yeah, that looks just like him."
did you watch Sheev Talks' review of Kenobi? He
I
only did the
watched-
first 3 episodes.
I watched like I only watched like the first 30 minutes.
Oh, man.
Watch that over a few days. That's
It is scathing. I walked away from that being like, yeah, I don't know how anyone could like this show. But yeah, I just wanted to bring up briefly because I had mentioned on Alex's stream like a couple days ago. I'm a plot driven reader. I like reading about plots. That's why I like the EU. I love the EU because they have these like grand, bold plots.
Yeah.
Preferably, it would be plot driven and character driven stories. Like you'd have a mix of the two, right? And I think a lot of EU stories like the NSA, like Traitor, for example, did a great job of being that. But
It's a great character piece.
I in relation to someone's sexual identity or someone's like their backstory or something like that, I care less about that. I care more about like the bigger events that are going on around them and how they respond to those events. So that's just me as a consumer. I
agree. I'm the same way.
I'm very, I don't know. I think I've noticed about myself, I tend to be more character driven than plot. If I can have both, I mean, perfect. But if I have to sacrifice one, I will take character because I don't know. I guess I just gravitate to that. That's why 70% talking, and probably my top 3 because I finished that book start to finish in a day. I didn't go to the bathroom. I didn't eat. I just kept reading all day because I was so engrossed in it. It's literally just 2 people talking for a good portion of the book. So I like plot. I like when a plot makes sense, but I guess it's not if it's not the greatest thing. Like that's why I understand a lot of people have grievances with Jedi Academy by Kevin J. Anderson because the plot is kind of all over the place. And I freely admit that. But I don't care because I think there's a lot of fun character moments that I can that redeems it for me. But especially with Kip, that's like the saving grace that makes me forget all flaws. Is I think Kip's story is one of the greatest stories in all of Star Wars. So, but yeah, I see where you're coming from. And the same thing, like if somebody was gay and like they wanted to make a story, I guess. I mean, I feel that would be a little forced today. But if they made a story about somebody being as part of their backstory is that they suffered because of it. I can vibe with that. I can do, if that, shaped who they are at the point that I'm reading them. But if it's just that, I am this and you need to know this because quota, then I'm just going to check out.
I think you could have good character development within a story that's plot driven, and I think
for sure
that's the best way it works. A lot of the early novels had different sections, like the Black Fleet Crisis, the Jedi Academy trilogy, where you had different events going on different planets, dealing with certain characters, but it all like coalesced at the end, or at least had
at least
something
Lando's and Luke's
something to do with the others. Well, you could argue like the Lando, like the Telgicon Vagabond. They were out there and like it had some effect on the final battle at the end with the Fallen Nasi. Like the Fallen Nasi, like what the planet was frozen or something. They did something to like oversee the I forget what planet it was, but I don't know. I digress. But it always bothered me. Like in 2008, the stories changed from being more like the movies to more like focus on a given character or a ship, like Outbound Flight, and they even changed the titles. Like if you look at the titles like post 2008, they're all like Kenobi, Darth Plagueis. They're all dealing around a certain character more than
Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, Millennium Falcon's another one. You could argue like the Allegiance and Choice of the One. They were they were named not Mara Jade, but they were primarily focused on Mara Jade.
Right. Yeah.
And I that always bothered me. I thought that was a bad idea because you switched from continuing the saga, the continuing story of Star Wars, to like focusing on these particular characters. And it really the entire saga doesn't revolve around them. They may be important characters, but
right,
that was not the way to go, in my opinion. That always bothered me.
That trend continued into the new canon, though, because then you had Tarkin, which I understand was originally supposed to be an EU novel at one point, but you also have Phasma.
Tarkin.
You know, you have like these books that are. But that's the thing, right? These books that are basically character studies. Lords of the Sith, for example, you know, arguably not really much goes on in that book, but it gives us a glimpse of the dynamics between Palpatine and Vader, right? Like this is what like these stories are focused on. I just, you know, I like my Star Wars to be epic. That's just me.
Right. Or at least consistent with, you know, where it started. You know, more like the films, and that's what I think it should have been like. Now we had awesome stories that revolved around certain characters, like Crimson Empire was primarily around Kir Kanos, but it told some other things as well. And I think that worked better in the long run. I wonder why they did that though, because there must have been something like in their marketing department or something that told them that you can market a book better if it's solely about this character rather than just some like vague title. Like they titled Yoda Dark Rendezvous Yoda Dark Rendezvous rather than just to hammer it home that this book is about Yoda, when really it was, in my opinion, more about Dooku. But I don't know.
Oh, that was the debate on Chris's stream.
Yeah. Well, I think part of the reason is like the way we consume media has changed in the last decade or so. And, you know, people like I made this joke, I think, on the Matt Wilkins stream a few nights ago or a couple nights ago. But, you know, it's all about like these, you know, cameos and neuro trigger responses. And so like using something like Yoda Dark Rendezvous, people are like, oh, I know Yoda, so I'm going to buy that book, or I'm going to read that book. You know, like whereas a story called The Approaching Storm, that doesn't really tell me, you know, maybe I look at the cover and I see people that I know.
People are best to avoid it anyway.
Right. Well, yeah, fair enough. That's a bad example, but you know what I mean? Like stories that have like a more ambiguous title to them or something like that. People are less likely to consume that these days because we're just bombarded with all of this media, and we have to make these choices about how we spend our time and what we want to consume, and we don't have that much time. You know, even if we don't have any like familial obligations or anything like that, we just don't have as much time because there's just so much out there, and so they have to use these trigger words to get people to purchase their content. I think that's part of the reason, anyways. I don't know if that's fully the reason, but
no, it makes a lot of sense.
Like how Filoni did with Tales of the Jedi.
Exactly. much to my chagrin.
Scott,
did that come out yet, by the way, Tales of the Jedi?
No, it's not out yet.
Oh.
Nah, but I'm gonna crap all over it when it comes out. Be ready.
It's supposed to be about Clone Wars, right?
Well, it's supposed to be about two arguably non-Jedis, but yeah, it's 3 episodes on Ahsoka and 3 episodes on Dooku. Yeah, I get called out on this on Twitter. They're like, well, what do you mean they were Jedis at one point? Anyways, it's Tales of the Jedi.
Should have been called The Lost Jedi.
Yeah, exactly. It could have been called anything. Honestly, I will eat crow. I will issue a public apology to Lucasfilm Limited if they go back in time and show Ancient Jedi in that show in like a subsequent season. But I don't think they're going to do that. So
I hope they don't.
Titus.
Yeah, I hope they don't either. These days, I hope they don't. Yeah, maybe
arguably,
yeah.
Arguably, you could name every show that's come out by Dave Filoni just Ahsoka. Just name everything Ahsoka, and people will still watch it.
I mean, there's literally going to be an episode in the Tales of the Jedi show about baby Ahsoka, because that is what we want to see.
Although I will say, my 4-year-old daughter loves Ahsoka, so I mean, it appeals to some people.
It's just a phase; she'll grow out of it.
Yeah, I hope so. But at this point,
Well, there'll be
You know,
plenty of
Better love the
material
Ewok.
for.
yeah,
They show the Ewok movies. They're so good.
we're slated to watch them together. It's just, finding the time has been kind of hard.
I,
But for sure, I'm
I've
gonna,
watched them for the first time since I was like 4, and I
Yeah.
thoroughly enjoy them as a 21-year-old.
and the cartoon. We're gonna watch the cartoon as well.
Oh yeah. I'll say I was the cartoon and the comics. I was not a big fan of, and that's just
I
me.
love the cartoon. I love it.
Yeah, I know. But I did really like droids. So maybe it's just, I don't know. There's something about droids that I was like, oh, I really enjoy this, but I just couldn't get into Ewoks, the show.
They're
That's
on
just
Disney Plus now. Both those shows,
Yeah.
Droids and Ewoks. Yeah,
I had them illegally downloaded on my computer, so I don't have to.
that's fair. I would have done that too, but
Same. I had them. I had
That looks
bootleg DVDs, and the first arc of Droids is amazing. Like I
Right?
love that arc. The race arc with Boba Fett. Love that.
Yes. Yeah, I love that.
Alex, I'm calling the cops on you.
Oh no. Titus
and-
also says. Titus says that for Yoda Dark Rendezvous, they chose the name for recognizability, also in part why Dagu is dropped since Yoda's more recognizable than Shaak Ti. So yeah, that's a good point. Adding on to the character and books stuff. But anyway,
They should have just called that book Dark Rendezvous. Like, drop the
Must
Yoda.
have been better.
Yoda's on the cover.
Mm,
So,
Ethan's comments afterwards though about Ahsoka are making me laugh because she's the main character of Star Wars at this point. I mean, she's the chosen one. So
yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry,
he's
Titus.
literally a god.
I love I like the droid show. I love the very 80s intro. I think it's a lot of fun. I think all the different story arcs they have where they all kind of like into master and
My one
Sorry.
piece of memorabilia that I wish they'd create is like a T-shirt that says like the Thal Jobin Racing Team, and just have it in like Arbesh, like the Star Wars like language, and all the sponsors. Like you have what is it, the Dax Speeder Corporation or something, like you could get really creative with that.
This is very catchy theme song. I'll give it that.
This is my jam right here, bro. Can y'all hear
Dude,
it?
this is stuck in my head afterwards. Yeah, we can hear it.
All right,
there's something so charming about that kind of animation. I just,
Yeah.
it's like it's a lost art.
I love that theme,
Yeah.
bro. Like, oh, I love it.
And I know you loved when it popped up in Stranger Things.
Oh, bro, I was freaking in my chair. I wasn't screaming, but I was like, yeah! Finally,
was-
get some recognition nowadays.
Is that season 4? I haven't seen season 4 yet. I'm behind.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
haven't seen it, but
sorry,
I've seen
buddy.
a picture of it.
That's awesome.
Will
It's just like a
Byers
one-
and-
Yeah, it's just a quick scene where it's like the start of a scene, and the kids are sitting, or a couple people are sitting down watching TV, and Ewoks is just playing. So,
That's awesome. I love that kind of stuff. It grounds you in a point in time.
the Duffer Bros, they're real EU fans.
yeah.
More
Why
so than
the-
Dave
even-
Filoni.
And their villain
I have
looks like a Vong.
Vaughn, yeah, right. I had a question for anyone who's in the know. Chris Nelson mentioned earlier today the Force Unleashed 3. What was the storyline supposed to be for the Force Unleashed 3? Because I feel like, at least for me, I thought they said everything they wanted to say about the Force Unleashed in 1 and 2.
Well, I mean, they left
um,
on an epic cliffhanger where Vader's
Yeah.
captured. So that needed.
Oh,
well,
okay,
as-
yeah, maybe.
As far as we know, there was going to be a crash landing, and Vader, it was going to be like semi-open world, if not completely open world, and Vader and Starkiller would have had to work together to survive or something like that. That's all the info I know on it.
Okay,
Yeah.
But Force Unleashed isn't like my favorite thing ever, but it really bothers me that it ends that way because there's no resolution. I mean, I assume there's not a happy ending for a lot of the characters, but I'd want to know what
it's
happened.
one of those big open-ended threads that needs to be closed.
Yeah.
Right. You can't have Vader captured and not tell the story of how he escapes. I mean, it would
He's
be a very,
fitter. He
very
probably
simple
forced up
story.
everyone and left on his own.
You know
Yeah.
why I don't remember that, because I feel like in my playthrough of The Force Unleashed 2, I ended up murdering everybody, like all the characters or whatever.
Well, that dark side ending,
Right.
but in the light side ending, he's captured. So,
Okay.
and but he like clearly isn't like concerned about it. Like he wants to be captured, is how it kind of seems, especially in a novelization. So it's like, why does he want to be captured? What's he like trying? Is he trying to find where their base is? You know, we have all these questions, we have no answers because it just ends there. So
Titus's comment, The Force Unleashed, really liked it when I was young. Now looking back on it, it's very continuity breaking. Maybe not as much as Kenobi or Obi-Wan Kenobi, the show, in the new
I don't
canon.
think it's continuity breaking. How would it be continuity breaking?
well, Noah mentioned there was a short story. I read the short story called Interlude Dark Now
Dark.
with
Dark Nell,
with
yeah.
with Garmbellis Ilbis, or you say his name, and how it doesn't fit with also him being on Death Star in the game. So I'm not exactly sure how. I'm sure they're enough time with Lucasfilm, but it does seem like a slight issue, but it's nothing that like was eye opening to me when I read the story and played the game. So.
Well, as I recall, it has to do with the time Interlude of Dark Now is placed, because by that
Right.
point, Garmbella Bliss, I believe, doesn't know about the Death Star, but that would be
Right.
impossible because he was on the Death Star in The Force Unleashed. But I think that's pretty minor. A lot of people don't like The Force Unleashed, not really because it's continuity breaking, but they thought it was like too over the top to have that type of story in between the films, like that close to A New Hope. And I kind of agree with it, but I'm okay with it. It's not as bad as the Clone Wars.
I heard I haven't read the novels, but Alex, maybe you can speak to this because you probably read them recently. But I heard the novels like kind of tone it down a bit.
Oh, they definitely do. So the first novel, which I don't like as much, is basically just a game told in book form. But what it does to help the EU is it literally everything that Starkiller does. I mean, he still does a lot of impressive things because he is the apprentice of Darth Vader. But like, for instance, in the video game, you have a direction to press a bunch of buttons, button mashing, to pull down a Star Destroyer. And it looks like you're just pulling down a fully operational Star Destroyer. Whereas in the book, it kind of turns that back a bit. It's, the Star Destroyer was already from getting attacked. And so Starkiller has kind of directed it in his direction. So while still being an extremely powerful move, is not nearly as powerful as like disabling a fine, not hurt ship and bringing it towards you. So stuff like that they would do, or after the game, Starkiller's like blocking Emperor Palpatine's electricity to give, or Force lightning to give time for the rebels to escape. And he's just doing that in the game. I mean, he's got like Sam Witwer face, but he's like, fine. In the book, it's like he was in extreme agony and pain, and he was suffering, and he could barely hold on, but he was still holding the blast back because he had to make sure his friends escaped or whatever. So it just makes it seem like it was much more of a struggle for him than it looks like in the video game. And then in The Force Unleashed 2, I just appreciate it more because there's a lot of extra scenes that don't exist in the game, like with Juno and stuff, and a little bit more political stuff, which I appreciated. But also tones down.
There's a story about Akbar too, about how he's like a slave of Tarkin, which was a concept that was used way back in West End games and a lot of like the early EU, but it was never told, and they finally included that there. I think was it Sean Williams that wrote that book. He did a great job with the second one because he included like all this extra stuff. There was a comic too that told it like from Boba Fett's point of view, which was like okay, but the novel Force Unleashed 2 is definitely worthwhile.
Yeah, it is. It's much better than the game in my opinion. The Titus mentions in the episode 4 audio drama, Bail Organa is seen as innocent with the Empire. In The Force Unleashed, he's recognized as a criminal. But yeah, I don't know if he's seen as innocent though in the actual movie, though. I don't think they seem to imply that. And then Ethan also says Star Killer taking down the Death Star Destroyer being evidence that the EU is stupid. Or sorry, the Star Destroyer, my bad. Is the worst criticism, in my opinion, because size matters not, which is a good point.
Yeah. I always got the sense watching A New Hope that like Vader was well aware that Leia and by extension her father were rebel sympathizers.
No, I'm pretty sure it's like implied in the movie that like, yeah, we know that you both are rebels. It's just we don't have actual proof that you are, but we know that
That's
you're
right.
doing stuff.
Right. Like we have nothing to, that we can stick on you, but yeah.
I know.
The Kenobi show gave the Empire plenty of proof that Bail Organa is a rebel sympathizer.
Of course.
But you know, it's the Kenobi show; they don't care.
Yeah, they don't care about canon.
And I'm sure Ram Koda and KOTOR, or not KOTOR, in Force Unleashed 3 would have died, but still would have been nice to know what happened to him because he was one of the coolest additions.
That whole idea of Akbar being Tarkin's slave, I just read about that when I was rereading Dark Apprentice, because he references it in relation to Dala because he's able to predict what her moves against Mon Calamari will be. Because I mean, obviously she was, trained by Tarkin, right? So he uses his insider knowledge, being Tarkin's prior slave, to counteract her moves and sort of destroys one of her Star Destroyers in the process. I thought it was kind of cool.
I love Akbar because of the Phantom. Akbar's so great. But another thing,
but y'all remember in Destiny's Way when Tycho went into the room and said out of nowhere, Admiral Akbar's dead. Y'all remember that scene?
Right. Well, he was just
out of
really
nowhere.
He just kind of
died. It
was
so shocking, but it was so funny at the same time.
Yeah, that was that. I was like, what? When I read that,
I was like, what? And now that I'm looking back at it, it's just like they're all talking, and then Tycho comes in and says, "Yeah, we just heard that Akbar's dead."
Yeah.
So,
I feel like they did the same thing with Mon Mothma, though. I feel like they're like, by the way, she died.
Yeah, I remember reading it in jail, and I'm like, where's Mon Mothma in all this? It didn't really mention what happened.
She died off screen right before the Vong invasion.
Yeah.
Oh, that was.
I mean, she was old, but
she was really old.
Yeah, I mean, she got a ship named after her at least. But the real thing we need to remember is Akbar and Winter.
What, were they an item?
They were an item.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Dark Apprentice, I think, and maybe a little bit of Champions of the Force.
Yeah, so I just finished Dark Apprentice, and I guess I can see some of that. I think it's probably more Champions of the Force though, because Dark Apprentice it kind of hints at that. She asks him to stay with her and keep her company on Anoth, I think is the planet she's on, watching over Anakin Solo. And I thought that was kind of weird. I was like,
it's not just Kevin J. Anderson though, because I'm pretty sure New Jedi Order, when he's all old and in his tank or whatever, that she's still sitting by his side when no one's around.
Wow.
I just got the interpretation that they were just close friends by the end. I never thought anything else.
That is what it is. It's just mean to make it be like that. But no, I think they're just very close. But she may even see him as like a father figure. I don't know. But
right,
people like
because her real dad's dead. So
right, yeah. So that might be what they were going for. And it just comes off kind of weird.
Does Winter ever get married? She doesn't get married in the EU, does she?
She marries Tycho.
Oh, right. That's right. Okay. Yeah. See, I always get that there's like that trinity. There's like Mirax and Corrin. There's Ayala and Wedge, and then there's Tycho and Winter. And I always get them kind of confused with one. Anyways. Right. You're right. Yeah.
And Ghent should have ended up with Kwisatz.
Yeah, Tycho's the least talked about of those three, and it's like easy to forget. And I think some of the authors might have forgot, like, or Kevin J. Anderson just didn't care. Like,
right,
I'm gonna put Akbar with Winter.
Yeah.
Well, gents, I have bad news. I have to go. Well, I mean, I don't have to, but I got to get up tomorrow because it's Sunday, so I got stuff to do tomorrow. So,
alrighty.
We've been live for almost 2.5 hours, so it's been fun. Thank y'all for joining. Appreciate it. Everybody else in chat, thank y'all for joining.
Mhm.
Somebody's name was joined. I don't know who this is.
Real Housewives of Wraith Squadron, though. I like that.
That's funny.
Anyway, y'all have a great night. Thanks for joining. Y'all have a great day tomorrow. So stay safe. Don't kill anybody. We'll be good. I'll probably stream. I may stream tomorrow night. It won't be as long because I have school in the morning. But anyway, y'all have a great night.
Cheers.
See ya.
See ya.
I really wish I could keep this I wish I could keep the stream going, just me not being here, but I'm hosting the stream, so whatever.